Good evening and welcome to the Board of Education meeting of Thursday, May 18th, 2023. We will begin tonight's meeting with our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge the traditional, ancestral, and ceded territory of the Chumash, Tongva, Bernardino, Tataviam, and First Nations on which we are learning, educating, and living. With that, we will move to the Pledge of Allegiance. And for that, I'm going to actually ask Mr. Kenny Knoop, who's sitting in the audience tonight, to come forward, if you can, and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand if you wish. And right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Knoop. With that, Ms. Quiterio, will you please take the roll call at this time?
Member Tabbitt. Present. Member Poncher-Kamkar.
Present.
Clerk Agakanian.
Present.
Vice President Weisberg.
Present.
President Ferguson.
Present. All 5 members of the board are present. We have at least 3 members of the board, so we are able to proceed with the business of the meeting tonight. Next, we will move to item 5, which is reporting out on closed session. The board did meet in closed session, and the following action was taken on item 3A. I want to make sure these are all right, all in the right order. Is it the employee discipline first?
Which one's students first?
Thank you. I just want to make sure because they were. Okay. On the motion of Member Tabbitt, seconded by Member Weisberg, based on the board's review in closed session of the recommendation submitted by the District Transfer Review Committee, the board accepts the recommendation to readmit student number 960033615 based on the completion of the rehabilitation plan per the expulsion hearing panel. On our next item, reporting out on the motion of Member Weisberg, seconded by Ms. Tabbitt, and by the way, that carried 5-0. Based on the board's review in closed session of the recommendation submitted by the District Transfer Review Committee, the board accepts the recommendation to readmit student number 960022004 based on the completion of the rehabilitation plan per expulsion hearing panel. That carried 5-0 as well. On to item 3B, reporting out on that item. The Board of Education met in closed session and moved and voted to approve the notice of intent to suspend and the statement of charges for employee number CL0105-23. That was moved by myself, Mr. Ferguson, seconded by Ms. Poncer-Kamkar. That motion carried 5-0. The board also met in closed session and voted to approve the notice of intent to dismiss and the statement of charge, approve the statement of charges for employee number CL0044-23. That was moved by myself, seconded by Ms. Poncer-Kamkar, and passed 5-0. And lastly, the Board of Education met in closed session and voted to approve the notice of intent to dismiss and the statement of charges for employee number CL0043-23. That passed 5-0. Am I missing any? I don't think so. Great, excellent. So that those were our actions in closed session tonight. Next, we'll go to adjustments to the agenda, and I will ask if there are any adjustments that need to be made to our agenda. Seeing none from my colleagues, I will note that there are amendments on the desk as it relates to the hiring update presentation. We have an amendment. We have an amendment to adoption. To Resolution 31 and Resolution 32. We have minor edits on those. So those are just the only amendments that the board has on our desk, but no adjustments to the agenda at this time. Excellent. Then we will move to item 7, items for future agendas. Any items for future agendas? We have received word of the moving on of one of our district leaders, Dr. Sarah Neiman, and so I would like the board to adopt a resolution celebrating her tenure and her service to the Burbank Unified School District, and would like the board to consider that at our next agenda. And then I would also like to see that the board potentially adopt a resolution recognizing Glendale Unified School District Board President Nairi Nahabedian and is she clerk? And Glendale School Board member Ingrid Goodnow for their advocacy on behalf of LGBTQ youth over in Glendale. It is an incredibly challenging time for the Diamond City, the Jewel City. And as somebody who had family who grew up there, it's our incredible sister city. We all struggle as suburban communities with a lot of different struggles. This is their time, but we should celebrate leaders who step up for kids. And so we're with them and hope we can pass a resolution saying just that and celebrate their leadership. Any other comments or requests? Seeing none, thank you very much. We will go to presentations and recognitions. First, we do have some retirements, and for once, I'm going to read the retirements at this moment in the agenda. Thanks to Ms. Quiterio, who again always makes us look great. We have an incredible district family here in Burbank Unified. We're celebrating the elevation of some of those members of our family tonight, but we're also celebrating the careers of many as well. And so tonight the board celebrates Kathleen Howard, who began her service in 1989 to the school district. Incredible amount of service to the district. To Karen Tomer, who was a special education program specialist, who began her service in 2003, and Jeffrey Thompson at Burroughs High School. That was a mistake. At Burroughs High School, who began his service in 2005. We want to thank you so much for spending so much of your time and your career with us here in Burbank Unified, and for taking care of our kids. That's the most fundamental mission we serve here, and we're thankful that you were a part of it. The only thing I will ask is the board, as of last meeting, adopted a new map where the board is now representing districts. So to this community who elected each of us at large, we are so grateful to have been the last class of board members to have enjoyed that privilege. But as we have now moved into compliance with state law, I am going to ask that the district take a formal review of where the board is listed and begin listing our district numbers in accordance, including in our name tag. So we have a bit of a skyscraper of a name tag, but if I can work with Ms. Quiterio to kind of structure them differently so that way we can move forward there. We have a great deal of work to do to educate the public as to what these districts mean. As you know, we had consultants with us last meeting, and they requested a little bit more time and breathing room to have those discussions. But the subtle changes need to start rolling out rather immediately so that we can reflect this change. Okay. And with that, I will send it over to Dr. Hill, our superintendent of schools, for his presentations.
Thank you, President Ferguson. We're excited tonight to introduce some of our new administrators to the district. Some are new and some are being promoted. So I'll have Dr. Paramo come up to the podium, please. Thank you.
Good evening, Board President Ferguson, distinguished board members, Superintendent Dr. Hill, district staff, and members of the audience. It is my honor and privilege to announce the new principal at John Burroughs High School, Mr. Kenny Knoop. Kenny, if you can come up. Kenny is homegrown. He's an alumnus of Thomas Edison Elementary, Dolores Huerta Middle School, and John Burroughs High School. Kenny's professional experience with the Burbank Unified School District started after he graduated from Fresno State. Kenny worked as a campus supervisor and assistant varsity football and track coach at John Burroughs High School. He taught for over a decade at Dolores Huerta Middle School, where he was encouraged to foster his leadership skills. Kenny made his move into administration as a Title I coordinator at John Muir Middle School, as well as the summer school principal at Burbank High School. Kenny became an assistant principal and spent most of the previous decade as an assistant principal at John Burroughs High School before becoming the principal at Dolores Huerta Middle School. In the past few years, Kenny has dedicated his professional development to learning and improving instructional strategies, interventions, special educational services, diversity, equity, inclusion, and mental health programs. Outside of school, Kenny loves traveling and camping with family, especially his wife Nicole and his daughter Kennedy, who is currently a first grader at Edison Elementary. I'm proud to introduce Mr. Knoop, and I'll allow him to say a few words right now. I'm sure he's beaming. Kenny, congratulations.
Yes, thank you. This time I was absolutely flooded with thoughts and emotion, so I actually wrote something down, because I know we're time crunched. But first, President Ferguson, School Board, thank you so much. Dr. Hill, Upper Cabinet, thank you so much for everything. A big shout out to our BTA members. I know you guys fought hard this year. Hope you got everything. You worked day in and day out, and I want to recognize that for you. CSEA, you are the ones that make our schools run. You are the ones that are there for us every day. I want to first start by thanking our Dolores Huerta community. You took me in, you believed in me, and you followed me through this crazy journey of what we call education. The past year has been an amazing experience, and I owe it all to the teachers and the support staff, the families, the students, and the PT, those people.
PTSA.
Yeah, PTSA. I spelled it wrong. My apologies. And to the students, last note, this is not a goodbye. This is an I'll see you soon, and I look forward to being your principal at John Burroughs High School. Moving forward, I want to express my sincere thank you, as I am humbled by the outreach and the pour of support that I've been getting from all corners of this beautiful city. With every ounce of my body, I just know that this is the absolute right decision, and I belong at John Burroughs High School. I can't wait to jump in full speed supporting our amazing teachers, our support staff, and advocating for our young learners in any way that is needed. I am blessed to have my amazing wife and my daughter here to watch this, that show me endless love and support. If it weren't for my family, I would not be standing here taking on this challenge. And as we approach this next school year, I give a promise that my goal is that we are going to strive to send off a senior class to college with diverse perspectives, strengths, and ambitions to create a community of students who will challenge and support each other through their own common journey in education.
Amen.
Yes.
Stay there for a sec. We got a few fans.
Number one fan, right here.
False.
Well, all
True.
right, I'll share it with you.
Nope.
Okay. Congratulations.
you.
There's nothing more that I could say that your speech didn't eloquently say. You're right. You are the principal for John Burroughs High School, and I know great things are going to come from you, because I would expect nothing less. So I can't wait. I'm so glad I get to be here to watch you take these steps and share that journey with you. So let's go. Go Bears.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Dr. Weisberg.
Yahoo!
Just
Just unbelievably excited. One of the times I was on campus this year, just came to walk around and say hi, and I was like, "Where's Principal Knoop?" And you were taking out the trash because we were short on custodians that day, and then you were going to clean the cafeteria, and then you did about 12,000 other things, and you didn't wait, you just did it all. And to me, I mean, and you did it while interacting with students and checking on your teachers, and just, I mean, just the consummate sort of leader of an educational institution. So it was amazing to see you then, and I know that Burroughs is your home. I know that it's where you're supposed to be. So I'm just over the moon to see you excel and to be able to watch all the amazing things that happen in the year to come for Burroughs. So for this second time in just congratulations. We're so lucky to have you.
Thank you.
So as I fought with Ms. Tabbitt, a fan. But I first want to speak to the Dolores Huerta community who, obviously had a new principal came in. You are an incredible ball of energy and positivity and can do. And that's empowering, and then to experience a new leader come in and then have you move on. That's an impact. That's an impact, without a doubt. Not one that should impact the trajectory of somebody who's clearly values-driven, who clearly lives every single day for kids, but still one that creates an impact. To those who are at Dolores Huerta, who are worried about those impacts, we will be there through that. We remain open to hearing what those impacts are and what you're looking for and how we can support that. So we know this may have been disruptive, but more than anything, I want folks to get centered back into knowing that these kids are going from a place of what is familiar into that again as they enter the final years of education, of mandated education in their lives. I got to know you very briefly before you, on a one-on-one basis when you were at John Burroughs originally as an AP. And I was more than thrilled in a million different ways to see the vast populations and the diverse populations that spoke of you with such love. I know in my own experience with leadership that as you move to different chapters, even the ones you want, there are different lessons to be learned. It has been such a privilege for me as a leader to see you grow in what has been presented to you. And I am fascinated, and really truly, because this is a science, and seeing educators to get their skill sets deployed in new ways, it's a science. And it's an art form all at the same time, to see where you're going to take it. This has been something you've worked hard for. This is something you've wanted, I think, for a long time. You verbalized it, manifested it, did whatever, but you did it. You're here. We are lucky to have you. This community is lucky to have you as an example. But that's a hard thing to live with at times too. Mistakes are going to happen. All the things. You know what craziness is going on right now in the schools. Kids are hurting. But I'm so glad we've got a fighter like you to answer that pain right now, because you do it right. So with that, I will say, I would like to join you on your first day of school.
Absolutely.
One, in solidarity, but two, as a fellow homegrown guy who's sitting in a leadership chair right now, we are all here for you and rooting for your success. Good luck. And Dr. Agakania wants to do the wrap-up.
I'll do the wrap-up. First of all, best handshake in Burbank. So, I know my colleagues, I'm not going to repeat what my colleagues said, but I also want to take this opportunity to thank your family. Spending long hours, it's a sacrifice that a lot of people don't know about it. So I do want to thank them publicly as well. I know they're here, but again, we're so lucky to have you, and the positive energy that you generate every time people see you and talk to you, plus the handshake, we're lucky to have you, and again, we're here for you. If you ever need us, you know where to find us. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. But you're not done with me yet, because as my first acting as becoming principal, I'd like to introduce our new assistant principal, Jessica Pulaski. Please come on up. All right. Jessica spent the past 11 years teaching math at John Burroughs High School. She was the ASB advisor for 7 years and is currently an interim assistant principal. She has served on the leadership team, has been a key member of the Algebra Project, which focuses on equitable grading practices, and most recently, helped lead the Mascot Redesign Committee. Jessica graduated from UC Irvine with a degree in psychology and her single-subject teaching credential in mathematics. Received her master's in secondary mathematics and education from Western Governors University, and completed her administrative service credential at USC this past December. She is a community member residing in Burbank with her husband and 2 young children. On the weekends, you'll find her spending time with her family at Olive Park, swimming at the Verdugo Aquatic Center, or dining along Magnolia Boulevard. She is excited to join the administrative team at John Burroughs High School and is looking forward to serving the students, the faculty, the staff, the families, and the community. Thank you, Jessica.
So I want to say thank you to the board members, Dr. Hill, Dr. Paramo, Dr. Neiman, Ms. Caseo, and Mr. Knoop. I've been at Burroughs for almost 11 years, my entire teaching career. I love this district. this school, and this city. My family moved to Burbank 5 years ago because we just knew how special this place was. I'm a community member, and even though my kids are young, they will be proud BUSD students one day. There's definitely a part of me that is sad to leave the classroom and the comfort of teaching math, but I'm looking forward to growing myself professionally in this next role. I'm thrilled to accept this position of assistant principal at John Burroughs High School.
Colleagues? Dr. Agakanian.
Thank you. So should we say Zad or fight on? Which one should we do?
I went to UC Irvine longer, so Zot Zot.
There you go.
There we go.
Congratulations, and my colleagues know math is my favorite subject. So I'm very happy that we also have a math teacher who's been an assistant principal, and I always tell my students, the importance of math, but I think we need to even do more when it comes to mathematics, especially what's happening right now in the world, right? With all the change and algorithms and all the fun stuff that's happening. So I'm glad that we have a math teacher now as our assistant principal, and congratulations. Thank you.
It was nice to hear that you were part of the mascot process. That was very much a student-driven process. Having said that, that took facilitation behind the scenes and the next steps and a lot of communication with the public. Hard time for us as a community. It's something we struggled with, and you helped us evolve. Thanks for that. Huge. Really huge, and good luck. I think I saw you running around open house with a radio in your hand, it may have been another event. We learn as board members not to interfere when folks are in the Zoom. Having said that, we're lucky to have you, and good luck. And we're gonna celebrate you a year from now. So good luck. Take care.
President Ferguson, I'd like to invite Dr. Greg Miller to come forward to introduce the new assistant principal at John Muir Middle School.
Good evening, Board President Ferguson, Vice President Weisberg, all of our esteemed board members, and our district staff. It is my great honor to introduce our newest assistant principal, Mr. Corey Howard. Mr. Howard, if you can join us. Mr. Howard is a graduate of Pepperdine University with a degree in liberal arts and a master's degree in learning technologies. As a proud graduate of Loyola Marymount University, we generally avoid people from Pepperdine. But in Corey's case, when he came to us 9 years ago, he had a very good reference. His mother, Kathy Howard, who you mentioned earlier, she's retiring after 41 years in education and 30 plus years in BUSD. Corey served Muir as a math teacher for the first 6 years and was amazing. Connects well with kids, adults, parents, everybody likes Corey. He was also our first exploring engineering teacher when we were getting that program off the ground and creating that pathway. He was our math department chair. He was a leader in 2018. He'd only been a teacher there for a few years, and he was our teacher of the year. He's just amazing in the classroom and with kids. 3 years ago, when Robin Hatch left Muir to become an assistant principal at Burbank High, we hired Corey as our Title I coordinator. Not only did he do a great job of managing all of our intervention programs, the Title I budget, the single plan, the safety plan, but he also has gone above and beyond and just with different initiatives. So Corey's the one that initiated our professional learning communities at Muir, which I know are big in the high schools. They're now big at Muir. It's really one of our biggest instructional movements is with professional learning communities, and that's all Corey's. I mean, that's his baby. He nurtures them, he moves them along. He's also the one that's developed our social emotional learning units and modules, which we get from EverFi, but he's even created his own. And finally, he's really decided to make a big contribution in the area of parent engagement. So he's the one that created the position for our parent liaison, which we now have. He's also the reason that we're now using Parent Square, which is a great communications platform. And finally, he is also a member of the Math Collaborative, helping to contribute to that. I would say that there's a lot of great things about Corey. He has high intellect. He's a great communicator. mostly he's very compassionate and caring. He really connects well with people, and they can tell that in his heart. The most important thing about Corey, though, is he's a man of integrity. He seeks truth, and he seeks to do the right thing at all times. Besides that, he's a new dad. He is a triathlete, and he's an ultimate Frisbee geek. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce Muir's newest assistant principal, Corey Howard.
Thank you so much, Board President Ferguson, members of the board, district staff. Thank you so much for just believing in me and for investing in me. I grew up in the district as well. I too went to Edison, once a Charger, always a Charger. Went to Huerta, also went to Burroughs, had Coach Snoop, which was awesome. But more than anything, when I was in Burbank, I learned how to explore ideas, how to wonder, how to grow, and that's all because of the Burbank community. So when I look out, when I see our chess team, when I see all the members, when I see Dr. Miller, I get really excited. I get excited because as I watch my mom retire, and as I watch that chapter end, a new chapter begins. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun to just figure out who is wondering, which students need nurturing, and how can we make that happen. That's something I'm really proud of, and I think it's Muir's a great place to do that. So thank you so much.
Dr. Eisenstein.
So the night keeps getting better. Another Matt, and finally a graduate from Pepperdine. Go Waves! I taught for years at Marymount and earned my doctorate from Pepperdine. So it's always good to see a lot of USC people are finally at Pepperdine. So thank you. I want to congratulate you again. I've heard about the initiatives you've started. You know, I've been to your school and many times talking to our students, and you know, it's amazing. People forget that. Everyone I'm out there, but when I'm talking to, they want to come to Burbank, but also Muir has a reputation of having these programs that everyone's so excited about, and thanks to people like you. But again, I want to congratulate you, and congratulations also becoming a new father, right?
Thank you so much.
So we'll see you. We're going to have sleepless nights, but you know, coffee will always help you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Dr. Weisberg.
So I had the privilege to see, I was at the BTA ceremony yesterday, so I got to hear you and your sister talk about your mom. So it's been a cool 2 days to see you there and then to see you here. But you know, I think our 3 middle schools are so extraordinary, and it's really clear why. Because we have people who invest their entire selves into the success. I'm a middle school teacher too, so like I understand the like amazing weirdness that is middle school, but it takes a certain type of person, right? And so it's really exciting to hear how excited you are, how much work you've already done, and just things that are coming down the pike because of all these ideas that you have. I can't wait to learn more about the PLCs at Muir. But just welcome and thank you for choosing to continue to grow as an educator here so that you can excite the next generation of students the way that you were excited here. I think it's such a uniquely Burbank thing, and it's really wonderful to see it continue on. So welcome, and you know, I know I speak for everybody on the board when I say we're here to support you in any way that we can.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Piggybacking on that a bit, first to Dr. Miller, you know, what I love is you know, every time I first of all, I'm a Muir Mustang, first Rough Rider, but a Muir Mustang, and we are famous for friendliness most of the time. But you know, Dr. Miller, every time I have visited your campus, you are excited to show me what's next, right? And you are excited to show me what you are doing to bring about belonging on your campus. And that is one of the greatest gifts of our middle schools, is that it is really the first time several different communities from all over Burbank really come together, you know, whether you're at Luther, whether you're at Muir, or whether you're at Huerta. Muir is a campus I know, I love. I've fallen down, I think, almost every one of those staircases, and held a record for that at one time. But it's really a thrill when we hear about a family legacy of service, because it takes, you know, these institutions carry forward good traditions because of people who have been there at times, and then new people who come along who say, hey, we can take those traditions, inform them, and make them better. And so more people can participate in them. And that's a beautiful thing. I too remember you with a radio in your hand, and walking through the office. But what I love is that when I don't always get the moment to actually meet you, right, to know that people like you who have parents who have served in our district are carrying forward that legacy. You could have done a lot with a background in math, right? But you're here taking care of our future generations and equipping them with skills. Taking that skill set and splicing it with social emotional learning, heck yes, that's where we want to go. Muir is a wonderful community. It is a privileged community as well. It enjoys a lot of privilege in its life. So what we can do to take the lessons from Muir and replicate that district-wide, and what we can do to take from Huerta and Luther and to make, a beautiful echo chamber of learning and progress is going to be more critical than ever. So as we welcome you to the leadership ranks, as we welcome our new AP, as we celebrate Robin Hatchett and all of her and the void she has left behind, but the successes she now enjoys as an AP, we need leaders now to be problem solvers and sharers, and to share information, to share learning. And it sounds like you're an excellent communicator and going to be able to do just that. So thank you to your family for your service to the school district, and really looking forward to seeing what you got.
Thank you.
Oh, Ms. Tabbitt, out of the corner pocket, I apologize.
I was over here trying to wait, but I'm super proud, Corey. Congratulations. And yes, when you think math at Muir, you thought of Corey Howard and Kathy Howard, and look where you've taken that, and look how you've grown and the fingers that have reached out because of starting out where you did, and the leadership you had from your mom. So I'm tickled, and congratulations on a third VP. That'll be a really big help up at Muir, and because there's so many kids there, right, that need the love and the nurturing and the feeling that this is their home. And I know you can help provide that, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congrats. Excellent. With that, we will move on to item 8A, recognition of the 2022-2023 National Merit Scholar finalists. Give them a round of applause. Let's do that. Get to the kids. Get to the kids. Okay, for that, Dr. Paramo.
Yes, I'd like to invite Miss Robin Hatch to come to the podium to recognize the students from Burbank High School, and I'd like to invite Miss Jessica Pulaski to come forward to recognize the students from John Burroughs High School.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for inviting us here tonight. One of the big reasons we're here is to celebrate the wonderful things these kids have done and achieved in their careers in school. The students that I'm honoring have worked so hard, and so I can't wait to share them with you. Casey Fifield, Lana Kang, Lorenzo Lopez, and Yogini Vazirani. Can you come up here, please?
Wait.
Hold on 1 second. Yeah, yeah, let's get some pictures. Sorry, we have this kind of weird format. So let's get some pictures with and I'll invite Dr. Weisberg as well and the whole board. Yeah, let's do one photo here and then we'll do that real quick. Board members, let's go. Jeez.
No. Pronounce it correctly. Cashews.
I would like to present the John Burroughs High School National Merit Scholarship, or National Merit students, finalists, thank you. They also worked just as hard, and we are so proud of them at John Burroughs High School. So can I have Nayan Ramakrishnan, Lillian Raisler, and Margaret Roberts.
Congratulations. Thank you so much. Thank you for representing our school so well.
You're going to practice all of them. Congratulations. Over here.
Thank you so much. Congratulations. Okay, with that, we'll invite forward our next presenter, Dr. Paramo, if you'll proceed with the next presentation.
Yes, sir. If we can invite Dr. Greg Miller to come forward to recognize the John Muir chess team.
All right, thank you again, Board President Ferguson, Vice President Weisberg, all of our board members, and our district staff. At John Muir Middle School, our motto is better than ever, this idea of always improving and doing better. And one group in particular on our campus is better than everyone.
Yep.
Our chess team is a hardworking group of students that have 60 to 100 kids that practice every Friday after school, 3 to 4. If they want more practice, they go to Barnes & Noble and they practice there, they practice online, they practice during lunch, they are committed. And, you know, we talked about how important in middle school it is because people find their people. This is their tribe. I mean, honestly, the chess club is this big group, just like band or choir art, where they come together. In the last 3 years, they have found great success. This is the third year in a row that the John Muir Middle School chess team is state champions for the state of California.
Talking about.
Both in K6 and in K8, and I'll just really quick. So you go to the chess tournament, and there's thousands of kids playing chess, and you know they play a real game, and then they go outside and they play more, and it's crazy. But generally, there's all the students are playing together, but there's two groups. There's all the schools, and then there's chess clubs, like localized clubs. But those are like the equivalent of a traveling team or an all-star team. Like those are the best kids in the area that play together. And so this year, our K6 group, and the state coordinator runs all these tournaments, noted it's the first time ever that a school has beat all of the clubs. Our K6 team was number one among all of them as well. In 2022, we played in the Chess.com National Online Tournament. We came in third nationally for middle schools. And actually our biggest victories, I have to say, is earlier this year, we played both Burbank High and John Burroughs High School. We beat Burbank High 6-0. We beat John Burroughs High School 8-1. I mean, these are not just the middle school champs. These are your district champions right here. But I have to say, that honest to goodness, none of this happens without one particular person. So 7 years ago, Coach Kevin Ballone was working for Boys and Girls Club and was coaching kind of at all the middle schools, and he would come 1 day a week for an hour. And then we had an opening for an instructional assistant, and we hired him. And he has been nothing but amazing as a chess coach, as an instructional assistant, and as a human being. He is so committed to what he does, not only in the classroom, but also with our kids. He is always friendly, always patient, completely generous with his time. He ran chess club during COVID. Every day when we were handing out textbooks or Chromebooks or whatever, he was there every minute of every day. He is just an amazing person and part of what makes Muir better than ever. I also like to note that he is John Muir Middle School's Classified Employee of the Year this year. Without further ado, I'd like to call up Coach Kevin Ballone and our state champion chess team.
I'm not good at this. I just want to thank you, board members, and Dr. Hill, and especially Dr. Miller. He says it wouldn't happen without me, but I have to say it wouldn't happen without him. He gives me a lot of inspiration. Like every year, we always try and get something better and better each time. And this year was, like he said, was one of the first years that we've gotten, like, not just the best school, but we were the best overall, and especially with the 6th grade. For the 8th graders and the 7th graders, they went through a lot. We had chess club online. We had it like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We would do like a Zoom meeting. Then we did like a little chess tournament. We did like the national online, which was, I think, headed in North Carolina, but there was all the 50 states were in it. We did manage to get in the top. I think it was 3rd, which pretty correct on that.
Huge.
Yeah, and that is a huge achievement. That is a huge achievement.
You bet.
But I have to say, it's not just me, it's the kids and the parents, because the parents are the ones that agree to send their kids to these tournaments. We even still have another tournament that's coming up in Glendale this Sunday, and there's about 15 kids that are competing in it, and there's like pretty close to like 350 kids that are playing in that tournament, because I received the advanced entry list literally like right before I got here. So I would like to bring up all of my chess club members up here, whoever's here. And I see Levon, I see Sophia, I see Kyle, I see Ryan, I see Mario, I see Ryan, I see David,
Yeah.
I see Daniel, I see Kyle, I see Karen.
Wow.
Turn around.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Oh, we're going down.
I really want to teach you, because those t-shirts are cool. They really are. I'm just gonna hop behind. I'll hop behind. I'm a little bit tall.
Let's bring the coach up front.
Yeah, get the coach.
We're writing checks, we want shirts.
I really want a shirt. There's like.
Great job, kids.
I will pay all the dollars. Congratulations, everybody. I play every day and I don't get better. Like I'm the worst. I will. My students taught me every day. But they've also been better.
Saw you were early.
I do chess.com.
Yeah, well.
Had a what? For what?
That I ran it. I don't that I ran it. Go both? You good?
Congratulations, Justine. Congratulations, Coach.
I don't even.
Wow.
Jesus. I'll tell you that I am in.
So clearly, it's hard to compete with chess. There's no way. We just lost half our ratings as folks leave the room. I will. Dr. Agakanian, if you could return to the dais. Thank you. Dr. Agakanian. Now paging Dr. Agakanian. Okay. Some of the... Dr. Agakanian?
Dr. Agakanian, you can hear us.
This is willful ignorance at this point.
This was like my 7th grade class today. You can hear my voice. Beulah.
Okay. So, no, I'm gonna ask Dr. Canepa. Can you go here's why. We've got other students who are equally deserving of celebration of all 5 more members who are sitting here and waiting on us, and we are more than excited, trust me. Dr. Hill heard my jokes about food earlier, so I am more than excited to hear about our next presentation, so I really want to make sure we're all here. Also, cool uniforms. I need order forms. So we're just going to wait 2 more seconds, and then we'll move on to our next presentation. We do have 2 more presentations, but it's really been quite nice at the end of the school year to... Oh, absolutely. Thank you. Maybe I shouldn't have sent poor Dr. Kanam. Well, now it's time to celebrate some more. So with that, Dr. Promo, if you could take it from there, and thank you, Ms. Macias, for waiting, for your patience. And
But you try.
oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Cuseo.
No problem. Good evening, President Ferguson, members of the board, Burbank community. So the next group is our Skills USA team and our teacher advisor, Mrs. Sandra Macias. If you could all come up, please.
Absolutely.
And before, though, they get started, I do want to say a couple of things about Mrs. Macias because she has been working with this team for a long time.
Yeah.
She's been doing this several years. And she's also done some outstanding things in her classroom. She got her course, her culinary arts course, approved as a UC course, which is very, very difficult,
Huge.
but she pulled that off. So she has that right combination of rigor and support.
Wow.
And one of the things that she and all of the other CTE teacher advisors for skills do is they really invest in the students and develop character. And so, anyway, I'm very proud of them.
Absolutely. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. President Ferguson, board members, and district officials. I actually would like to introduce Adira Fogelman. She is our president for the John Burroughs High School chapter for Skills USA. I think it's more meaningful to hear from the student who went through the experience.
Thank you. Come on up.
Hi.
Welcome.
This is wild. The last meeting I was at was when I was in kindergarten. So it's like full circle moment. I graduate next year.
Amazing. Yeah.
But
You made
greetings,
it.
President Ferguson, Vice President Weisborg, board members, and district officials. So going into high school my freshman year, finding my place amongst a large student body was difficult. As a student who was not inclined to join the performing arts or sports, I was limited and not knowledgeable about my extracurricular choices. During my junior year, I found my place within the culinary arts program. Currently, joining the program before your junior year is very difficult, so when I finally had the chance, I jumped on the opportunity. I've been an avid chef for my whole life, and my passion flourished in the class. Similar to culinary arts, classes such as photography with Miss Clark, cabinet tech with Mr. Mendez, video broadcasting with Miss Meshkat, and robotics engineering with Mr. Vesna offer students a diverse selection of extracurriculars and nurtures the many interests that students possess. Students in these classes work diligently to explore their disciplines and nurture skills that will benefit them in the working world. This year, all of our diverse technical pursuits joined together in the Skills USA program. Skills USA is a national student-led organization that promotes career and technical education. It provides students with opportunities to develop and showcase their skills through competition leadership development activities. With over 100 skills and leadership contests, students can immerse themselves in their area of interest, from the medical field and culinary arts to graphic design and robotics. These competitions simulate real-world work scenarios, fostering practical problem-solving skills, critical thinking, and creativity. Students receive valuable feedback from industry professionals, allowing them to refine their abilities and strive for excellence. Our participation in this program satisfies an important qualification in the Perkins Grant, a grant that serves a fundamental role in funding all CTE programs in the Burbank Unified District. In preparation for the culinary arts competition, I was exposed to new techniques that I would carry with me for the rest of my life. The coolest thing I did was fabricated chicken. I know. I know. It's like cleanly separating the chicken into all its different parts. I'm telling you, it was difficult. I struggled. And it was kind of a little gross. But I made a lot of matzo ball soup, let me tell you.
Okay.
It was fun. So after a lot of practice and guidance from Miss Macias, I succeeded. In the hybrid Region 3 competition against students spanning from Los Angeles to Ventura, many of our own JBHS students placed and moved on to the state leadership competition. At the state competition, we were all treated like professionals. We had to submit resumes and undergo interviews. Then, we had to follow specific instructions and limitations in our own individual competitions, all whilst racing against the clock. In the culinary arts competition, the judges handed us a 10-page packet that included no recipes. The packet gave us broad guidelines of the menu that we had to complete. We had to use our prior knowledge of technique and measurements to finish the task. So long as we followed the general guidelines, we could be creative in the ways we chose to fulfill the prompt, allowing each competitor to showcase their unique individuality. Frankly, when I read the packet, I was dumbfounded. We had to fabricate a chicken, create a stock, compose a salad with a creative dressing, create a potato dish, and much more, all in the time span of a mere 3 hours. I was ready to tap out. The setting of a commercial kitchen mixed with professional chefs pacing around the room, watching our every move created a tense environment. But I persisted and finished on time. After the competition, the judges pulled me aside and commended my work, also complimenting my positive and animated energy through the entire process. The experience showed me the value of a confident attitude when facing a nerve-wracking and utterly terrifying challenge. Fake until you make it has become something of a life motto. Finally, I feel blessed to have had the opportunity to participate in this valuable program. The experience shines brightly on resumes and scholarship applications, showcasing unwavering dedication to career readiness and a commitment to excellence. BUSD is investing in mine and my peers' future, and this is a gift that we will cherish forever.
Huge.
Thank you.
Before we get to the important stuff, really quickly, we have some people that we would like to thank. Miss Allison Edge, who is the head advisor for Skills USA, Kathy DiNapoli, our CTE technician and data entry person, of which there is a ton of with Skills USA, and of course, Mrs. Sharon Caseo, Assistant Superintendent of Instructional Services, who oversees Career Tech Ed or CTE programs. We also would like to thank the Burbank Arts and Education Foundation for supporting all our schools through their grant programs. We are excited to finally get our culinary classroom refresh, which, with the additional help of Mrs. Caseo's office, will be replacing our 20-plus-year-old lab kitchen ranges, hopefully over the summer. We would also like to thank Mr. Alan Azoyan, owner of the Handy Market, for his generous donations, particularly the chickens for fabrication practice, and continued support of our culinary arts program. Given the increase of class sizes, decrease in funding, while the cost of food is still rising, it is partnerships that we share with the Burbank community members and businesses such as the Handy Market and the Burbank Arts and Education Foundation that help with the success of our programs. All right. So as Adira said, we are part of Region 3, which is LA and Ventura counties. The Regional Leadership and Skills Conference was a hybrid event held every Saturday from February 21st to, sorry, I should be wearing my glasses. I was wondering why they were on my head. I'm sorry, January 21st through February 18th, 2023, with the State Leadership Conference, April 13th through the 16th in Ontario, California, held live. So the following were the areas in which we participated. The Urban Search and Rescue Robotics under teacher advisor David Vesna from John Burroughs High School. As a team, Ryan Boyle and Salvador Perozzi were gold medalists at regionals, so they advanced to the State Leadership Conference. Cabinet making under the advisorship of Gerardo Mendez at JBHS, Sophia Squilashote, and then Intro to Woodworking, again under Gerardo Mendez, Jacob Santoro, and Bradley Campa advanced to the Leadership Conference, State Leadership Conference, excuse me. Sorry. Photo, under teacher advisor Kara Clark. Keelani Pack was our silver medalist at regionals and advanced to the State Leadership Conference. And Matthew Beiser was our gold medalist at regionals and advanced to the State Leadership Conference, where he took the silver medal. Broadcast video news production under Ryan Meshkat. As a team, Cindy Avila, Autrey Rosendahl, Harrison Johnston, and Max Purdy. And then I have my team here. For culinary arts, Adira Fogelman placed fourth at regionals and advanced to the State Leadership Conference, where she placed fourth again. Owen Gersh, our bronze medalist at regionals, advanced to the State Leadership Conference. For baking and pastry arts, Catherine Burpee took silver, at regionals and advanced to the State Leadership Conference. And Deanna Aceves was our bronze medalist and advanced to the State Leadership Conference. And then under employment application process, Aiden Roberts placed fourth regionals and advanced to the State Leadership Conference, where he took fourth again.
Wow. Congratulations. Excellent. So we'll head down, but I will say first to Ms. Macias, thank you for demonstrating really commitment as an educator to keep upping for UC approval. It is a huge distinction. I am thrilled to hear that there's investment in your kitchen, especially after 20 years. It's about time. The fact that our students could cook with 20-year up, a great job. But really, I can barely cook without pressure. So to hear your story, also your writing was incredible. So clearly a ton of work on that end, but like really, truly, this is why career tech ed is so critical. And I think your story was so clear, right? It sometimes is a learning process. It's an exploring process. It's like, hey, I found my niche here. Again, I'm chaotic as heck when I cook, but I'm happier. I disconnect a bit, I relax a bit, and then I have a ton of dishes. But, really, truly, everyone, you saw the presentations earlier today, and it shouldn't in any way take away from yours, because all of you went out to different corners of this community, of this national community. And again, we're the United States of America, so to achieve any level of a real distinction here is to say something. And you did it on behalf of our little community. So we're going to come down there, do the thing, take the pictures. Congratulations, and thanks for representing us so well.
So nasty. Should we do less of a line and more of like a curve? Let's do it. Oh, there we go.
Oh, there's more. Don't you go.
Congratulations, congratulations.
Thank you. Does that go into the audience moment? Call a special member. So the Board of Education this year in particular, we don't have a ton of resources as a community when it comes to education. We struggle. And as a result, thank yous for those who have contributed significant effort are more important than ever. Saying thank you on behalf of community is more important than ever. And we don't have a ton of resources to do it, but we have the intention to do it. And this year, the Board of Education has kind of created a new tradition focusing really on celebrating those who have gone above and beyond for our schools. So for tonight, we have two folks I'm going to be recognizing in different ways. So first, I would like to invite up Ms. Lori Little. Yeah, I can't make you cry, you can't make me cry. Here we go. So, first of all, everybody has a Lori Little story in their own way. I came into this role 8 years ago and knew you kind of from a distance then, but then really got to know the passion behind Lori Little around making sure every kid has the right to play. Every kid is a good sportsman that represents our school district well. And then I got to know her, again, first as this incredible, passionate sports mom, got to know her family, who has changed my life in a million different ways and who I'm so proud of. And you have a graduate that's coming up soon, so we're getting the whole family across the finish line here. But I also got to know her as a leader who fought for communities that didn't always have a voice, right? Lori Little was a part of a class of parents that made history at the state level with the California PTA. California PTA used to be one of the most conservative in the nation. And Lori Little was a part of a coalition of parents, a determined group that made sure that LGBTQ specific sex education became a priority in the state of California, equipping those young people with the knowledge and security to live healthy, happy lives. It is not every day that you get to meet people who go out of their way to fight for people who aren't a part of their families naturally, or who, it's not every day. And you were a part of a very specific class of parent leaders that changed history. Burbank itself doesn't have a long history of acceptance. But it's because of people like you that people like me are standing here today. Again, first openly gay elected official in this community. Why? Because of people like you who opened the door and created opportunities for people to be accepted. So, Lori Little has been involved for a heck of a long time, but also has this incredibly hard distinction in leadership as well, of being the PTA council president who was here for COVID. Leadership is hard. It's harder in a pandemic where there's no rule books, where you don't know what's happening, when district leadership is in conflict doing its best, but struggling. You were there, and for so many parents, for so many phone calls that we couldn't answer, you did. And I can't thank you enough for that. So the Board of Education has two forms of recognition. We have certificates of recognition, which you saw a lot of our students walk away with today. They made us incredibly proud. But there are, our highest form of recognition is called a board resolution. And that is passed by the Board of Education. It was passed by the Board of Education during our last meeting. And I want to read what your resolution says, passed on behalf of the board. Burbank Unified School District resolution of the Board of Education recognizing Lori Little. Whereas Lori Little has successfully concluded her term as president of the Burbank Council PTA after serving during one of the most challenging times for public education in our nation's history, the COVID-19 pandemic lockdowns and return to in-person learning. You will hear this again tonight, but this was an incredible leadership credential and it needs to be honored by those who went through it. This one's a long paragraph, so watch out. Whereas the end of Lori Little's council presidency marks the conclusion of a 14-year tenure of service to this district, which included service in leadership roles at the PTA unit and council levels as president, vice president of membership, vice president of fundraising, and parliamentarian of the Providencia Elementary PTA, where we met, buddy benches. She then also did vice president and parliamentarian of the Luther Burbank Middle School PTSA, parliamentarian at John Burroughs High School PTSA, and president, vice president of legislation and advocacy, vice president of membership, parliamentarian, and historian of Burbank Council PTA. Countless numbers of advocacy days, legislative days. You were there telling our legislators where they need to spend money. It was great. And whereas Lori Little's impact on our students and school communities can never be fully measured due to the countless hours she spent as a volunteer at school events, district meetings, sporting events, and more. And whereas Lori Little's example as a parent advocate should be celebrated after routinely engaging elected officials at all levels of government on education policy and funding issues impacting the school district. And whereas Lori Little not only advocated for educational funding, she also worked tirelessly to foster belonging for all students, including efforts to improve sportsmanship amongst school athletes and the significant role she played in securing the passage of a historic resolution on LGBTQ+ inclusiveness at the California State PTA Convention. Now, therefore, be it resolved unanimously that the Board of Education, and we haven't done a lot of unanimous, well, we have done a lot, but this was a very easy one, that the Board of Education hereby recognizes Lori Little for her service as Burbank Council PTA President and for her tireless commitment and advocacy for her contributions to local and historic efforts to foster greater belonging for our student populations. Congratulations.
Hi.
Ms. Tabbitt, why don't you start off? Oh, and then we'll all come down and take a photo.
Sorry, I got confused with.
You know, we're getting to our flow.
You know I'm a big fan. We've had many conversations about many topics. Most importantly, ones that are nearest dearest to both of our hearts is athletics, especially athletics for the females in our society, and making sure that there's a place and a safe spot and positive sportsmanship, as Mr. Ferguson said, over the years. I've got the call, you need to come to this game and find out what's going on. And down I come, and we watch some softball or some basketball over the years, and try to figure out what's best for as many involved. You work tirelessly, that's a hard word for me to say. You're supported by your two girls, Jessica and Rachel, and your wonderful husband, Brian, who, thanks to Brian, we got those buddy benches. So the little family with you at the helm has been an inspiration and a wonderful, wonderful family who's given to this school district, and I can't be more appreciative of all the work you've done. So thank you.
Dr.
Jessica's
Agakanian.
watching at work. Say hi to Jessica. She's
Hi,
watching
Jessica,
at work.
everybody. Hi, Jessica. You owe us a meeting. Next, go ahead.
This is long overdue, but now that we have resolutions, I think it's proper that you be the first person to receive the resolution from the district and from the board. But in a personal note, someone who's been to your house and known you for a long time, and that's, to me, my culture is very important. When you go to people's home, when they open their home, like family. I always say, my home is your home. But I think what you represent also is community love, dedication, and the willingness to listen and giving straight answer. I love how honest you are when it comes to giving, not only advice, but also, talking to people, including myself, but also the sacrifices you've made as a parent, and as a mother. That's very important, I see on social media, like, how much time you're putting out there for your children, for our community. I don't know how you do it. I like to know how. I mean, I do drink a lot of coffee, but at the same time, the energy, the dedication. Thank you for all you've done. And I know we went through some tough times, but thanks to people like you, we were able to make it to the pandemic. And here we are today. Congratulations. I wish the best for you and your family as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Weisberg.
I wrote you a card because I'm not good at emotions. Just thank you. Thank you for an unending waterfall of questions for me constantly about all the things. I wish I'd been able to go to more games, but the one I got to go to was super fun. Just thank you for everything. And I know you're still going to be around and we'll still be bugging you for your insight on lots of things. But I said it in my card, like, I just wish I had had a chance to work with you for longer than just the short amount of time that I have. But an authentic thank you, and I said some stuff in the card.
Thank you. Thank you.
You can always run for school board. Ms. Ponce-Campcroft. Husband says no, so we're good.
Just
Go ahead. I'm encouraging everybody to run for school board tonight. Go ahead.
just thank you for what has been a really impressive tenure and career in supporting our schools and supporting our students, when I'm sure there are lots of other ways that you could have spent your time, but you did it in advocacy of kids. And I've certainly seen that in my short time on the board. So thank you, and congratulations on just some really amazing accomplishments.
Thank you.
Amazing. If I could have the board come on down, we're going to take a quick photo. If family wants to join, you can join. We would love to have you as you too sacrifice.
I'm good, it's coming to
Full scholarship?
There's some
No,
bittersweetness to that.
partial.
I know, that's what I said. How you been, brother?
Good, good. See you.
You're giving it to me on birthday, right?
No, I think so. I will. Thank God I rotated it, but can't wait. I love that. I'm so glad you're my neighbor. That's very sweet. Oh, no, it's great. I mean, we get neighbor reviews, parent reviews. This is great. So our next resolution, this is a very full circle moment as well. Miss Diana Abasta, come on up, Miss Abasta. Wow. So never imagined that I would be in this role to do this, but I am so grateful that I am. We all, education's important because it's a public institution, it's a public guarantee. In California, it's part of the California Constitution that we guarantee our children access to education. And because it's a guarantee and because it uses public money, we need accountability and we need partners who push us to deliver on our core values. You have done that for decades. I was a very young little activist who used to sit around this area and would see Miss Diana Abasta, who was at that time co-president with Mr. Kim Allender, coming down here, throwing all sorts of lightning bolts to the school district. And almost 2 decades later now, you're still throwing the same bolts, except now I'm receiving them. Used to laugh at them. Now I realize leadership is always hard. And what I loved at times and what also challenged me sometimes when we interacted was how much you held me to my own values. And that's not easy at times. It's not easy to represent other people. It is not easy to be the bad guy at times. And you have left it all on the table for your members, every single time. You have also never been afraid to put in the hard work for your members either. When I drive down Burbank Boulevard and I see that lonely light on, I know it's Diana Abasta in there, and I know I'm about to get a call about some issue that we're not delivering our very best on. For all the things people saw, for all the things people didn't see, I have been on so many midnight calls with you, worrying together about our kids, worrying together about the quality of education both of us will leave behind in our times of service. And I know how much you have given to this district in heart, in soul, and in so many things. You have also been an incredible partner for us in the sense of our parcel tax campaigns. You have been there, shown up, helped get members there. So when you're in as a leader, you're all in. You demonstrate those values, and we are so lucky to have that. You're wrapping up not only a time of service as a president of our local teachers association, you are wrapping up your time as an educator, at least in this phase. You're going to be educating in a whole different way, and over 40 years in the classroom. That in itself deserves a round of applause. That is an example in public service that we should aspire to. So I am very grateful for that, for 40 years, and I am certainly consider myself a student of yours. So, and again, I say this story a lot, but it means a lot when you are an activist, when you run for public office, when you knock on doors to win, and I knocked on doors to win, Ms. Tabbitt will tell you. You helped wake up that activist in so many ways. I happen to work for a man named Los Angeles City Council President Paul Krikorian. When I was a student board member, he was in that chair. And now he's there, and he, as I joke with him all the time, Diana Abasta still thinks that you're her favorite board president. And that doesn't rub me the wrong way at all, but he sends his congratulations. Former Assemblymember Nazarian, also a major fan of yours. These are major leaders who look at you and go, values, and who look to you as a compass as whether or not they're getting it right. That's huge. So with that, I'm going to read your resolution. Again, something we are proud to bestow. Whereas Diana Abasta has successfully concluded her term as president of the Burbank Teachers Association after serving during one of the most challenging times. And you were there working with us on MOUs, I remember that, to make it happen. During the most challenging times for public education in our nation's history, the COVID-19 pandemic lockdowns and the return to in-person learning. And whereas the end of Diana Abasta's presidency will also mark the conclusion of her teaching career of over 40 years, with nearly 30 of those years as an English teacher at Burbank High School, where she served as department chair, an advisor to countless student clubs, a member of dozens of site committees, and as a professional mentor to educators entering the teaching profession. And whereas Diana Abasta's work as an English teacher always sought to deliver appropriate academic rigor with lesson plans designed to promote greater resiliency, critical thinking, and a hunger for lifelong learning with her students. And whereas Diana Abasta's service as a leader of the Burbank Teachers Association included years of service in many association leadership roles, including as a member of the bargaining team, as co-president, and as president of the association, where she worked tirelessly and frequently late into the evenings to improve compensation, professional development opportunities, and other working conditions for over 800 teachers, counselors, nurses, and speech and language pathologists, represented by the Burbank Teachers Association. Whereas Diana Abasta's tenure as an English teacher and president of the Burbank Teachers Association has informed the philanthropic work of the association, which has paid specific attention to promoting reading through events like reading walks and diversifying reading collections at our school sites by donating books written by authors of color and which feature stories from cultures and communities of around our world. And whereas Diana Abasta has been a true community leader working with dozens of elected officials, including members of Congress, state officials, county officials, Board of Education members, and City Council members, reminding them constantly that your budget is your greatest representation of your priorities. Now, therefore, be resolved unanimously that the Board of Education hereby recognizes with the deepest appreciation the career and leadership of Diana Abasta, whose work on behalf of Burbank educators, nurses, counselors, speech and language pathologists, and students is simply unparalleled. Thank you, and congratulations. Who would like to start? Ms. Ponser-Camber.
I'll start, because I'll be shorter probably. Ms. Bassett, congratulations, not only on general retirement from the classroom, but also from a really successful term as BTA president. And I want to thank you for being open and willing to take me out to classrooms so that we could really focus on what was happening in those classrooms. I really appreciated that. I did some quick math, and I feel like just in your classroom, you probably had over 5,000 students over the years. But then when I think about the time that you've spent as the leader of BTA, you've impacted all of the students in this district over those years because of your leadership. So thank you, and get some rest if you can.
I also wrote you a card. It's just easier. I'll just say that this year, very specifically, taking the time to meet with me and help me understand negotiations and budget, and taking me to the schools that really needed a board member to sort of sit down and touch base with them. I often, I say this a lot too, but I don't know what I don't know, and it's unendingly helpful when people take the time to tell you. And they don't scream it at you, which is also a nice change. So I really appreciated that kind of advocacy and pointing me in the direction of difficult but important conversations. So I always leave them feeling like I have more information and more questions than I did when I started, and that to me is the sign of a really important interaction. So for all of those, I'm really deeply appreciative, and the rest I said.
So I remember first time we met, we talked, and I said, if we take care of our teachers, everything will fall into place, and I think we agreed on that, and I'm glad that here we are today, right? But, also for me, knowing you, it's also a bit personal because both my nephew and my best friend's, daughter who's graduating this year, taking your classes. I've been with you here and there. They know who you are. You do have a reputation as being the English teacher, but also someone who takes education very, very seriously, not only as a teacher, but also making sure that our students understand what the value of education is and how teachers are there to teach and to make sure that our students are successful, I'm going to miss you personally, but I know that you're going to be around. And one of my favorite things is every time I'm going to walk down Chandler, when I look at the fence at Edison with the books, I'm going to remember you because our son always asks. I think he wants also the ice cream truck that's right there when we go biking, but he always asks, where are the books? And I think that's a brilliant way of making sure our students You know, especially now that we're dealing with a lot of this artificial intelligence, students not writing like they used to, I think we need to go back to the basics and bring back the books and talk to our students about the value of education and proper reading and writing. But again, congratulations, and on behalf of my family as well, thank you very much.
We've been here together for a long time. You a few more years, but I sat here board meeting after board meeting and listened to you as you spoke from the dais speak with passion. And it was usually on one or two subjects. Your strong service to your teachers as their union president. You advocated for them with every breath you had. And that's meaningful, and I know they all appreciate it. And it's not just kind, but it's part of who you are to take on that role and advocate. So thank you for that. And I'm sure Tracy's always here, there's a ton of teachers who will, when they think of you, will think of their leader who brought good things for them or helped them to get to a better spot, whatever the circumstance.
Can you move the mic closer to your...
I was relaxing.
You're
looking
reclining.
Right at Mrs. Abasta as I
Right.
got to speak to her. Better? Okay. And then also part of your many conversations to the board was your dedication to your students or students, depending. You had an ability to have a unique connection to students. You could tell by the way you talked about them. And I'm sure there's, was it Ms. Kamkar that gave a number? 5,000 students? I'm sure many of them will carry your words with them, and remember what you said to them and how you taught, and the love of literature that came through. They'll carry that with them forever. And that's what a teacher's supposed to do, and you did it well. So thank you very much for your years of service, and go have some fun. Find a new hobby and embrace it and do what Diana Basta does. Take it to the top.
Thank you very much.
My board colleagues can join down here for one last photo of the evening, and then we will complete our Roto-Rooter lovely award ceremony. And I also want to recognize that Ms. Abasta and Ms. Lori Little really brought a lot of the Parent Teachers Association and the BTA together for parcel tax and a number of other efforts. So two leaders who were coalition builders as well. Now, we all know if negotiations don't go well, she'll be back. So, looking forward to it. Not going well, but thank you. And thank you to the members of the public. Realize it, we actually we do a ton of presentations. So today is a little bit, but it's also the end of the school year. So first, before we get to public comment, I do want to just say thank you to all of our classified employees, to all of our administrators, to all of our teachers, and to all those in support roles of our schools. This was another tough year. This was kind of the first breathing post-pandemic-ish, the new normal-ish year. Still a lot to get used to, and still a lot of challenges, a lot of safety concerns, kind of right and left. That's a lot to manage. But we made it, and to all of our employees, you are going to see headlines, even in my favorite, my Burbank, along with the Burbank Leader, et cetera. You are going to see images of graduations. And you are going to see young people and the faces of those young people that you will never meet, but we will. We get to meet them on your behalf. We get to shake them, shake their hands on the behalf of the community and say, congratulations. Why? Because it is all of us delivering on that mission. and us completing that most sacred promise and that most sacred right and to access to a public education. So this is all of our victories, and we look forward to celebrating that on behalf of this district. So with that, we will move to public comment. We have a number of speakers who have signed up tonight. So I want to begin with, these are out of order. How do I do this? Okay, so sorry. I just want to make sure because I don't want to call. Okay, Mr. Barry Sarna, we'll start with you, followed by Ms. Polly Stenberg, followed by Ms. Caroline Solberg.
Wow, what a night to show up for this celebration. This was truly the best of what we do here.
Right.
Without a doubt. And I am extremely proud to say that I've worked with most of the adults and some of the kids from the Merit Scholarships from Burbank High that came up. So great for me to see people that I love and that do an incredible job. And it really shows the traditions that we have here. And it's kind of what I want to talk about because I'd like to see those traditions continue. And I'm not going to, I'm a little worried, but when I see what I see tonight, I know we can move ahead and try to do some other things. So I'm trying not to be the downer. I don't think this is going to be a downer tonight at all. So good evening to everyone. I think most of you know who I am and that I'm a retired teacher after 25 years. I would have been 40, but I started very late. And don't ask me to be on the school board because I'm way too old to start that job. And now I'm a sub, only at Mira though, helping my friends out there, and also helping my wife out in kindergarten, which has been one of the greatest experiences I've had, to say the least. Everyone should try it. I hear a lot and I see a lot at the schools and teachers that I talk to and parents and leaders in the community. And I'm not here tonight, by the way, some of you know I'm president of Vision Burbank, but I'm not here in that capacity. But when I do put on that hat, people talk to me, and the first thing they ask, since they know it's my wheelhouse, is what's happening in the schools. And, you know, financially, I understand that there's only so much you can do financially for teachers about salaries. But I propose, and I've talked to some of you about this, at no cost to you, we improve the working conditions of teachers. And that's what I hear, which I believe have declined as of late. Too often, teachers can't do their jobs as a result of behaviors in the classroom. I even see this as a sub. To that end, teachers want discipline consequences that are appropriate and timely. Right now, teachers do not feel they are supported in this. I've heard this from a lot of people. Parents are denied full teacher attention for their students because of repeated behavior issues with some students. Parents should understand the academic and behavior expectations for a student in BUSD to ensure success and mentor their children. Last time I spoke to you, I reminded you about the amount of time that parents have with our students compared to teachers' time. I would like to see BUSD have an opening of the school year meeting for parents, maybe at Burroughs Auditorium, to spell out how we can work together to make a better school environment for teachers and students. The discipline and academic expectations would be spelled out, and you would ask for parents to help out to achieve these things, and perhaps have parents and teachers come up and speak as well. I would like this parent meeting to enhance the partnership between parents and teachers to help cut down on behavior issues so academics can again take a front seat and teachers can teach, as I heard Dr. Agakanian say earlier this evening. Teachers and admin could participate in this event. I also call on you to increase consequences for repeated inappropriate behaviors. That means if a child is on a permit and is a drain on our system, perhaps they should be shown the door. I also believe that we can have opportunity rooms. When I was at Mira for years, we had an opportunity room. I don't know where that is in ed code, but it worked. And then we brought kids back to the classrooms and they had all their academics while they were there. It also means harsher consequences for infractions as far as Ed Code will allow. That means more counselor support and intention as well. And maybe we can stop the exit of teachers and administrators from BUSD if we get a hold on this. I cannot tell you how many times I hear about behavior. I heard it today. I was over at Muir practicing for a skit, and a couple of teachers came up to me. First thing I heard. Moving to Burbank for our schools was a big draw, we all know it, which many fear is now changing. In the future, BUSD will need a bond and maybe take a shot again at a parcel tax, which I hope will be a flat tax. We will need to show the voting public BUSD is on solid ground. We can't compete with LAUSD, but we can make BUSD more attractive for teachers, as it used to be, I believe, for its better working conditions and support from the school board and BUSD administrations. Thank you. And once again, great celebration tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Sarna. Our next speaker is Ms. Polly Stenberg, followed by Ms. Caroline Solberg. Good evening.
Good evening, President Ferguson, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Hill, district staff, and our entire BUSD community. My name is Polly Stenberg, and my pronouns are she, her. Over the last 3 years, I have participated in many conversations with school board members, teachers, fellow parents, activists, local and state policymakers, contemplating big questions of how to approach anti-racist change-making in schools, how to eliminate bigotry and hate, how to support teachers, families, and staff, how to best create an affirming, equitable, inclusive, and adaptive community capable of collective growth, both agreeing and disagreeing therein. In 2021, the Destiny Education Project was formed to help solve these problems. Of everything that I have participated in and seen, there is nothing more powerful than the work being done in the Destiny Education Project's peer-to-peer reading program. After a year and a half of successful pilots, and with program creator and JBHS senior Destiny Helliger graduating this year, we're working to figure out how we can continue to expand this program. On site this year, we had the incredible support of the principals at Providencia and Disney Elementary Schools, Jen Culbertson and Rebecca Harris, whose belief in the reading program allowed us to reach all of the classrooms at both school sites this year. We had support and participation from PTA. We also had the amazing support of Matt Chambers in facilitating the program on the high school side. We were able to present the peer-to-peer program at the district's secondary and elementary principals meetings. Forthcoming this summer, we are set to meet with a JBHS DEI team to continue the conversation about the growth and expansion of this incredible reading program. It will also be very exciting to meet and discuss peer-to-peer with the eagerly awaited DEI supervisor. There is no area of DEI that the peer-to-peer reading program does not touch. It is a concrete and potent opportunity to embed all aspects of DEI into the classroom. Peer-to-peer draws a direct line from board resolutions and proclamations to the classroom. Knowing, acknowledging, and respecting one another as whole human beings is at the root of this program. In that spirit, I am specifically called to be here today in support of Resolution 31, proclaiming May 22nd as Harvey Milk Day, and Resolution 32 in support of Pride Month. A small sample of our amazing peer-to-peer book titles that honor this month include Pride, The Story of Harvey Milk and the Rainbow Flag, Jacob's New Dress, 'Twas the Night Before Pride, Papa, Daddy, and Riley, I Am Prince, Jack Not Jackie, and Queer Heroes, 53 LGBTQ heroes from past and present. In this year alone, there have been hundreds of anti-LGBTQ+ state bills in this country, including bills signed into law just yesterday. Much of that legislation has targeted schools and sought to deny the existence of our LGBTQ+ students, families, staff, and administration. It is powerful and important for our board to support Pride Month in this room, and it is even more critical that we do so concretely and enthusiastically on school campuses and in classrooms, not just this month, but every month. This support can take profound shape through storytelling. Stories can model how to respond when unkind words or ignorance show up. Stories bring the unfamiliar into the familiar, the unknown into the known. Our LGBTQ+ community, of which I am a proud part, deserves the utmost in support at every level, including having stories and histories told and celebrated. When a high school student walks into an elementary classroom, it is as if a celebrity has entered. The level of attention is already distinct. When that student introduces themselves to the elementary students in the room, a connection is made that spans the breadth of the entire BUSD academic lifespan and brings us into closer community. There are connections that occur through the books that the high school students are reading, as much as in the relationship of the students to one another. In many cases, the high school reader also has a strong personal connection to the characters in the story. All of these connections and the ways we share in them and bear witness to one another can offer an immediate antidote to isolation and an interruption to bias. The read-alouds contribute directly to our students' love of reading and help bring our school libraries, which have so many new and diverse books, to life. The read-alouds give our high school students an opportunity to be seen and affirmed by their younger peers and vice versa. Our peer-to-peer library is full of rich and diverse titles that allow members of all communities to tell their own stories and to be represented in the whole of their humanity, in success, in struggle, and everything in between. These books are for all of us, regardless of our age. Through this program, high school students will be introduced to a career in early childhood education and be given the invaluable hands-on experience of leading classroom discussions. I don't know exactly what board support of the peer-to-peer program looks like, but I know that we need it. 2 more sentences. Once the board
I'm
finalizes
sorry.
its
We've
policy.
I've got to keep it consistent for everybody, and we've got other speakers tonight that I'm going to need to keep it consistent.
Okay.
So, thank you.
All right. Well,
I'm
as soon as
sorry.
you have the policy,
If
or we could have a few more
You
minutes.
need to wrap up, and you need.
We have a whole presentation.
Okay. So I will remind speakers, I do need to keep it to 5 minutes, and Ms. Stenberg, we have received your request, but going on beyond instruction doesn't help or doesn't encourage that process either. Ms. Solberg, you're next, followed by Ms. Tara Waugh, who will be followed by Schlossman.
Good evening, Board President Ferguson and school board members. Good evening, Superintendent Dr. Hill and staff. I have some questions, and I've tried to ask them different ways, and I'm still confused. And so here you are all in one room. So I just asked them tonight, and I just thought, if I am confused about these, others might also be confused about them. And so if they can't be answered tonight, if you could direct me as to where I could find the information, that would be fantastic. To hear my questions. The new subcommittees, when are they going to begin meeting? Where are the meetings, dates, and times going to be posted? Will the meetings be in person or virtual or hybrid? Oh, and also I emailed you, so if you don't want to take notes, it's in your emails. Like just now I emailed you. Will the meetings be recorded and posted? Who's allowed to attend the meetings? Are they open to the public? And then on a different subject, with master plans and GATE, I was confused at the last school board meeting when you were discussing master plans. There were the arts and the special ed master plan was in one area and all the others were in another. And I didn't understand, does one take priority over the other? Or the group that's not, I know that special ed and arts are very important for different reasons. And are the others going to be removed? Or are they going to be addressed a different way? And because GATE falls within those, if they are going to be removed, then what plan are you going to use to address board policy 6172? And then I had a series of about 5 or 6 questions about GATE and board policy 6172, which I put in that email. And I'm just looking for a way to get that information. So thank you so much for your help.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Tara Waugh. Good evening, and then followed by Schlossman. And then Mr. Rom. Excellent. Followed by Mr. Arakelian, but not yet.
Hi, guys. Good evening, members of the school board, President Ferguson, members of the administrative team. This is my first time here in 2023, so welcome. I'm Tara Waugh. I'm the parent of a second grader over at Emerson Elementary. His name is Charlie. And I do first want to say how, just as a parent, it's a little disturbing, and I don't mean any disrespect, but to hear us talk about conversations about discipline and that being some sort of a gateway to improve things in Burbank, the climate for teachers, the climate for students, is very problematic to me, both as a parent, as an educator. That's a conversation that's 20 years old. Discipline is only as good as the enforcement, and if we're not looking at inclusion and PBIS models, then we're not actually looking at effective behavioral means to change behavior among students in the district. If you want to know more about that, ask me. I'm happy to come back and do a presentation myself. But I'm actually here tonight to get answers to some very specific questions about services that my son Charlie was owed in his IEP, that were not given to him, and that we have no accountability for and no remedy for. So I have a handout that I will hand out at the end of my presentation, which delineates exactly the questions I need to hold this team of people to account for, because I cannot get answers on these. And these are important. And if I cannot get answers from you, I will have to escalate things to the Department of Education of California, because these are serious violations. And if they're happening to me and my son, and let's be fair, I'm white, I'm privileged, I have a pretty good education, I know these things are happening to other students in this district. I know because I'm speaking to other parents whose children are in the special ed department who are not here tonight because they can't get childcare. They can't get specialized childcare. Those people are marginalized. So I'm here specifically for my son's issue, but also representing those as well. Let me just detail what I've got in this memorandum, which is that at the start of this school year, my son was entitled to inclusion services of 4 hours a week. Someone somehow changed that contract without notice to us, without our approval, and reduced those services to 4 hours a month. The only way I found this out was myself reaching out to the non-public agency who conducted these services, who's actually on your agenda tonight, item 12.0. That is the actual proper amount in which that agency should be funded for the spring semester services. Okay. So this actually is on your agenda. My son's services were not restored until I brought that up, and I have no idea who authorized that signature. Not only have I been unable to get clarity and answers from Karen Tomer, who is, by the way, retiring in June, so there is a ticking time clock and accountability on this issue, but I've also not been able to discuss remedies for this. And we would love to not escalate this and bring in legal counsel. But we need to have a conversation with whoever is responsible for denying us those hours that were legally entitled to us as part of his IEP. So I'm going to ask this team to please, in your comments, President Ferguson, appoint or direct me to one person who I can speak to get follow-up on these issues, because I don't want to escalate matters further. And I don't think it's really good for, frankly, the board. I don't think it's good for the Department of Special Education. I don't think it's good for any administrative member to have to escalate this beyond this room. But I do need answers for my son and for the other students in this district. So I hope you guys will hear that. I have made copies of this for all of you guys, including the administrative members. So I'm going to let Cindy, if you don't mind passing these out. And they include some other issues as well. Because overall, and this is a drum I've been beating for a long time, there's a lack of leadership in the special ed department. I've brought that up before. I continue to bring that up. I do not see this changing. But the announcement of Karen Tomer's retirement, in fact, I am worried because I don't know what the plan is to even replace somebody, and she oversees the IEPs of a lot of students as the head of elementary. So I'd like to get some clarity. I'd like to understand who's on the CDAC committee, which is supposed to be a joint council of parents and district officials. As far as I know, there's no parents. I'd volunteer to be on it. There was. I'd like to find out who is in charge of the district's legal representation and directing that representation as far as special education-related issues go. And I would like to get some oversight of the budget as far as the legal fees that are served, that are on legal services, not on settlements, but on legal services retained by the district. Would love to get clarity on all of these issues. I thank you as a parent, as a stakeholder here, as a business owner, as a landlord. I wear a lot of hats. I really appreciate your response on this. Thank you.
And just as a matter of clarity, excuse me, Mr. Schlossman, and we'll get right to you. If you submit those in writing, then those will become formal Public Records Act requests, and then we can move forward with those. Mr. Schlossman.
evening, everybody. What an evening tonight. I love seeing the kids being acknowledged. You know, Mr. Noop is a superhero in my book. And just to hear that he's doing well, it really lifts me up. You know, he's tremendous. He's battle tested. And, you know, I have two girls that are a handful. And for 4 years, I had regular communications. And that man never gives up. And he's always just tremendous. And I know he's going to serve every other family just the same as he did me. Yep. Miss Neiman, what's up? I wish you well. Whatever you do. I wonder like the others why so many people are leaving you. You know, some people will say, oh, it's the money. I doubt it. I think there's more going on here. And I think you should look to the top of why there's an exodus of so many people over and over again. I mean, it's a question that needs to be asked. Okay, you know, all of us are supposed to follow the rules. You talked about it a little bit tonight, Mr. Ferguson. And I talked to the Department of Justice about the 5 of you. And one of the things that they did is they sent me a copy of the Brown Act, which I already had. But you're supposed to follow certain rules, certain protocols. And you began the meeting tonight talking about something that wasn't on the agenda, land acknowledgement. And it's my opinion. It's my opinion. You know, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. But it's my opinion. You shouldn't be talking about something that's not on the agenda. And if you want to do it properly and give us notice. And there's protocols for the way you're supposed to do that. And it's not too much to ask. And you did it at the last meeting as well. Item number 12S on the agenda, you're spending $52,000 for a fence over at Burbank High. I read the staff report on it, and it's a little vague to me. I'm wondering what we're getting for our money. How many feet of fence is it? How tall is the fence going to be? What are the specifics on that? At the last meeting, which was your goals meeting, you talked about wanting to have 12-step meetings at the high schools, and I oppose that. You know, 5 of the steps involve God, and there's supposed to be a separation of church and state. And I think that, once again, you want to spend money that we don't have. And I think that there are other mechanisms to help children. We already have counseling services and a number of other things. And the constant spending more money, it doesn't sit well with me. Okay. In the same breath, at your goal meeting, you talked about your desire for another bond and a parcel tax. And you also talked about a desire for our kids to have personal savings accounts, which I'm in favor of financial literacy. Every kid, if you start early enough, can be a millionaire. It's a mathematical guarantee. It's very easy to do, but we don't teach these things, and it's to our detriment. It's to every family's detriment. But in that same breath, you talked about taking money out of the homes, out of every individual, every child and every family, every tenant, every renter. You talked about making our groceries more expensive in a bond. And while you were vague in the amount of money that you talked about, you hinted that it's going to be bigger, the biggest one we've ever seen. And we made a deal with you. We were generous. We gave you about $400 million to help the schools. And we're just about to pay one of the bonds off. And now you're asking for more. And that's not acceptable to me. And I had our newest member talk to me like I'm a 10-year-old about spending and, you know, how you need more money. And that's not the way it works. Live within your means like all of us do. You know, I think you're insensitive, you and the vice president. You've said, from things that you've said, you have a dog, you have dogs, and you have cats. Those are your concerns. We have children and families, and we know what things cost. And it's hard when you just want to take this money. And I did the math. Really what you're asking for, you know, bonds are very expensive because you get the money up front and you have to pay interest on it. It's like a mortgage. It's the amount you pay back is many more times than the amount of what you borrow. And I divided an amount by the number of citizens in this Burbank, and you're asking for between $5,000 to $6,000 for every man, woman, and child over the life of this thing. And it's just too much to ask. Slow down, spend less. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Autumn Arakelian, followed by Andre Dionysian. Good evening.
I'm sure this board is very busy, does a lot of important things for the school. The Burbank school system itself, I think, overall is a great school. But I'm here to oppose the school district's adoption of Resolution 32 in support of Pride Month for June. There's no reason why LGBTQ lifestyle philosophy should be part of our schools, whose main purpose is to educate our children on facts. The school and its members have no right to speak or to promote to our children any sexualized content. The entire LGBTQ movement hides behind acronyms, words, and symbols that attempt to bring positive light and feeling, such as pride, gay, rainbows, unicorns. But at its core, it can be summarized by two phrases: homosexuality for the LGB and mental dysphoria for the TQ and more. These subjects are not what our children should be hearing about, nor in support of in their schools. For the first set of letters, there is no reason to be subjecting our children to any type of sexual behavior. The only position the school should hold is the position of abstinence for all, because they are all minors. Not teaching them about homosexual behavior, if that's what they choose in their adult lives, that is a direction they can explore once they are adults, even though it would not be unwise because the homosexual community has the highest rates of STDs. For the second group of letters, the treatment should be taken with professionals, healthcare professionals in the mental health field. If a child states that they are unhappy with their bodies, feel cast out, depressed, lonely, and want to cut themselves to end it all, you would quickly get them the mental health professionals to help. But if the same child lists the same problems and says they want to cut their penis or their breasts off, you lead them to the doctor's office for irreversible drugs and surgery. That doesn't sound right, because that isn't right. The state has been socially experimenting with these ludicrous ideas for years now, maybe even a decade. And has it even helped our children? Are the suicide rates down? No. In fact, they are the same, if not worse. End this madness. Return to sound moral framework that built this country, state, and city, a moral framework of Christianity. It is the only reason why we hold human rights, values, and civility in such high regard is because of its Christian foundation base. Ideas such as every human life has a divine value and is worth protecting, kindness and love is best practiced in Christian countries. But in order to stay that way, Christian principles and framework need to be the bedrock of every body, every community, and every organization. Even if you don't believe it, you have to respect it, because of the fruit it produces like no other, any religion. Look around the world and you'll see that it is true. No other countries in the world are as prosperous as the Christian nations. I'm calling for no more support to so-called pride movement in our schools that seeks to degenerate children with unhealthy lifestyles, hiding behind rainbows and unicorns, for which it's just disgusting. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Andre Dionysian, and that is the last card I have at this time. Unless other cards like you'll have until the end of Mr. Dionysian's comments. Suffering through an injury, it appears, in order to testify.
Excuse me, my leg
God
fell
bless.
asleep.
Then not an injury, and I'm
Nope.
grateful for that. Have a
All
good.
good.
Bienvenidos.
Hi, I'm Andre Dionysian. I'm a bit shell-shocked. I was going to talk about how wonderful of a teacher Diana Abassa was. I'm going to put that on pause for just a brief moment, because I think it'd be remiss not to. I had 0 seconds to think about this. Okay, it is incredibly disappointing to see members of our community say things. I have no fancy words. Okay. Well, I'll say this. Every individual is entitled to their own opinion. however, frankly, disgusting it may be. I will fight for your right to say those disgusting things. In exchange, I get to say it's disgusting. And moreover, that bottom line, I think, is drawn at the separation of church and state. And advocating for overturning one of the fundamental cornerstones of our republic is frankly un-American. It is your right to believe whatever you wish to believe. It is not your right to impose those beliefs upon others. And I will leave that there. Diana Basta. Miss Abasta, wow. Had I had better foresight, I would have asked so many of her former students to come. They're actually in town, many of them, because of summer break from college. And you know, I've had an opportunity to speak with some of them since I heard at the beginning of this year that Miss Abasta was going to be retiring. And, you know, there's one common thread, which is when you're in Miss Abasta's class, you're not quite sure whether she finds you annoying or really likes you. It's only when you leave that you realize that she is one of the great prolific practicers of tough love. And believe me, that is invaluable. I cannot tell you how many times beyond the steps of Burbank High School, Miss Abasta's, you know, the pressure cooker that was her class, it prepares you for the rest of high school, it prepares you for college, and it prepares you for the real world. And I try to explain this to my little sister who's currently in your class. She'll believe me eventually. But believe me when I say you have touched thousands. I am just one. And I would like to add my voice to the chorus of those, thanking you for your service beyond your political advocacy, simply as an educator. Thank you. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. There was some dark joy receiving that, so that's great to hear. Our next speaker at this time is Carmenita Helligar, and that is the last card I have at this time, unless there are other cards that come up before that concludes. The price is right. Come on down.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
I was not going to speak tonight, but, you know, my name's Carmenita Helligar, and I have 3 children who have gone through BUSD, and I have a niece who's gone through BSD who I'm raising, and I have a grandchild now who will be joining BUSD in a few short years.
There we go.
And I wanted to start off by saying that, you know, I have children who are queer. So there's something called drapetomania. I don't know if you've heard of it. And it was a mental illness diagnosed in 1851 by an American physician, Samuel A. Cartwright, who hypothesized that enslaved African Americans, if they wanted to flee, they were suffering from a mental illness. And now we have people saying that our queer children are mentally ill. So it is hurtful, to say the least. It is closed-minded. And I just needed to come up here and let our children know that they are supported. Let our openly LGBTQIA people know that we need you to stay in your place in leadership to show our children that they can have and do and be anything. And to the people who feel like this is a mental illness, I just wanted to point that out, that even someone who was being beat and killed and hung, it was a mental illness to not want that to happen to you.
Thank you. Our final speaker is Diana Basta.
Good
Good evening, President Ferguson, members of the board, Dr. Hill, members of the district, members of the community. First of all, I want to say thank you. I really appreciate that. I think you do know me, and I think you know that I respect you. I know your position. I know where you stand, but I also think you understand me and my position and where I stand and my passion. Actually, you know, it's gone by so fast. I cannot believe how fast it has gone by. I'm not leaving because I don't like it. I have to leave when I still love it. And sometimes it's a little bit difficult because I want so much. I do believe in a sense of decorum. I do. And I believe our children should all have safe spaces. I believe in cultural proficiency. And I also believe that people may have their beliefs, but they don't have the right to push them on us or on our young people. The two brothers who are sitting there, I've had all the donations. They're just wonderful. The other day we were doing a project on propaganda, and I know I invited you. I'm very proud of my students, and I wish you would take the time sometimes to do a full period. I know some of you have had, so that you can see from bell to bell what that's like. Our students like for when an administrator walks in and sees them, you know, whether it's putting on a PowerPoint or reading something that they have written. So anyway, and it was just amazing. It's a CD that starts off, it's from Animal Farm, right? So there's the Soviet national anthem playing in the background and the world is turning. And I mean, it was just phenomenal. You know, these are the types of students I got to work with. The students that you honor, the path to success. It doesn't matter if you go to the 4-year Ivy League. I don't care. You can be the best person with a work ethic and work at anywhere. And I feel proud. I feel proud when I go into the bank and I see my former students. I'm proud wherever I go of our students. So to the parcel tax. I cannot think of any greater investment than public education. It is the crown jewel. And it's something that all of us, all of our businesses need to put their money where their mouth is and invest in our children who are the future. So thank you again.
Staff responses. We'll close public comment and go to staff responses.
Thank you, President Ferguson, and thank you for the speakers. Mr. Schlossman, you talked about the Brown Act, and I do want to apologize to the public. I made a mistake. The land acknowledgement was on the agenda, and it got deleted by accident, so I'll make sure it's added back to future agendas. And tonight you gave me a good reminder to keep my comments and responses brief and only talk about items on the agenda. But I will say Voltaire's quote came to mind tonight. I pulled it up so I said exactly. I may not agree with what you have to say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. But I do have to respond. When I hear hate speech and I know that our employees and our students are impacted by that, I just have to be very clear that what we stand for in BUSD is an inclusive environment for all of our students, all of our employees, and we will continue to fight and put protections to make sure everybody is welcomed in this district. As far as agenda item comments, Mr. Schlossman, we can follow up and give you more details on the fencing. This contract is to put in additional fencing for safety upgrades. We're very fortunate that the city's going to be splitting the cost with us. This is based on some safety walks we've been doing. For Ms. Solberg, I saw your email. I'll follow up in writing with staff, and I'll work with Mr. Ferguson to answer your questions about the committees and the master plans. Ms. Wah, your point of contact would be Ms. Caseo, and she will schedule a meeting with Ms. Tomer and the IEP team. I've been getting briefed on the topic, but they will sit down and address your specific questions. So, thank you.
Board responses. Looking to my left first. Ms. Tabbitt.
Not quite sure where to start, but
The beginning.
yeah, my beginning.
Thank you.
Yeah, hate speech is very hard. A kindergarten teacher of ours shared a story with me about a young kindergarten, one of her students that came to her and asked about the pride flag and why did we fly it? What did that mean? And her response meant a lot to me when she told him, it means everybody's welcome. And I thought that was a great explanation, and it says what we are at BUSD too. Everybody's welcome. Everybody has a place, and you will be accepted and cared for who you are, no matter what. End story. And that's the way I want to keep it. I hope going forward, I think it will, but that's the way I hope it keeps going. Everybody's welcome. Mr. Sarna, thank you for coming out and sharing your thoughts. I'm hoping we can take some of your thoughts and work them into something along the lines that you'd like, because I could see the benefits, not exactly, but I can see some benefits to that. And so maybe possibly we could have some conversations coming up to see how we could work through that, if all the board's interested. Ms. Waugh, you had your answer from Dr. Hill. Mr. Dionysian, did I say that correctly? Yes. Awesome. Thanks for coming out, or coming back, shall we say, and sharing your thoughts. As an educator too, there's nothing better, right, ladies, than to hear from a past student who said, and yes, all my educator friends in here, who says, when a student comes and says, I remembered what you said, what you did, the impact you made on me. So to take some time out of your life to come and say that is a very special thing. So thank you for doing that. I think every educator needs to hear that at some point in their career, whether it's the beginning, the middle, or the end. So thank you for coming out. Ms. Helliger, every time I interact with you, I come away with a new thought, a new understanding. So thank you for helping me grow. I appreciate that. And Ms. Steinberg as well, or Stenberg, sorry. Same thing. That's a growth moment, and I appreciate that. Sometimes we're all on a different path, but the path is running in the same direction, right? And so it's kind of nice when someone can bring you something that can help you, widen that path, so we're more on the same one. So appreciate that. And I think that's all I have for tonight, Mr. Ferguson. Thank you so much.
The sponsor camp card.
Thank you, President Ferguson. So just to kind of run through a couple of these here. So Ms. Solberg, Ms. Waugh, I think it sounds like you will get some answers to your very different questions, but it does sound like staff has been kind of assigned there. To Ms. Stenberg and Ms. Helger, so thank you for the reading program. It sounds amazing. I'm not sure if there's a board role in that, but I would love to see it continue. I tried to find something that I agreed with our friend. And one thing that he said was that every human life has value and is worth protecting. Really thought I was going to take a turn there, and then it didn't. But I can agree with that. So, similar to what Dr. Hill said, that, we want to ignore it, but we have to stand up when we hear hate speech. So I support our LGBTQIA community, our students, our staff, our families, and I wish to express that you're loved and valued and seen, and that that person does not represent our community as a whole. He represents himself. I also had a couple of things since the last board meeting. So I did go see Miss Grimaldi, who's the Teacher of the Year at Luther Burbank Middle School. She's the Teacher of the Year for the district, but she's at Luther Burbank Middle School. And the students who escorted me to her classroom talked about learning so much in her class. Lots of them were saying, she is the best teacher I've had. And I spent most of a period in her classroom seeing how she supported students and deepening their understanding and their questioning. And it's, when I went to do a school visit with Miss Basta, I saw the Teacher of the Year from last year, and it was in a first grade classroom. And that was obviously a very different environment, but it's just really great to see everything that our teachers are capable of. I also attended this week the Burroughs and Burbank Senior Awards, and so I wanted to congratulate our graduating seniors and their families, since next week will be at graduation. We're clearly graduating a really wonderful group of young adults. the kinds of accomplishments, the number of different post-secondary options, the way our students have engaged in the community. This is a testament to their hard work, the support of their families, and the commitment of our teachers and administrators behind them. So I'm really excited for that. Last time I pulled a couple of quotes from some emails that I had received from parents, and I just want to do 2 more, if you'll bear with me, because one really stood out to me. So this is from a parent of your student. About a year ago, my husband and I moved our family into Burbank. Our main reason for this move was so that our son could attend school in an outstanding school district. He has been enrolled at John Muir Middle School, and so far our experience has been outstanding, all caps, parentheses. They really are known for friendliness, exclamation point. His teachers are fantastic and really care about the work he does for him as an individual. And then the other one that I wanted to say was, this is a Providencia and Burroughs parent. We have been consistently impressed with the high quality of the teachers our children have had throughout their scholastic lives. Their teachers have not only given excellent academic instruction, but our children have consistently felt valued and enthusiastic about going to school. Their teachers have always been responsive to our inquiries and concerns of those of our children, and we couldn't ask for more. So last week was Teacher Appreciation Week. Every week is Teacher Appreciation Week, but last week was the official week. And I always want to raise up when I hear compliments for folks. I think it's really important that we share those really good stories. So that's all I got. Thanks.
Thanks. Dr. Ayakanian.
So a lot of you know or have heard my story. And, sorry. When I was 10-year-old, I watched my mother being dragged into a car because her hair was showing in a country that was run by religious people, where we were called names for being a different religion. My neighbor was killed because he said the wrong thing against the government. Mr. Dinozian, thank you for being the grown-up in this room and bringing the fact that it is a separation of church and state. And I always remind people about the freedoms that we have here that we take for granted, the ability to speak up, the ability to practice our religion, the ability to come here and spew hate. But that's also what makes this country wonderful. It is the First Amendment. But at the same time, I do not tolerate hate. Because I know what hate can do. I've seen it, witnessed it, lived through it. And I think I would say this again. I said it last time, I'll say it again. In my front lawn, I do have the sign that says hate has no home here. I will say it again. Hate has no home here in Burbank. I've known this gentleman for how long now? I'm so proud. Yes. Very proud of him, what he stands for. But also, people forget, for someone who came here from a country as a refugee, who didn't speak a word of English, with a long name, last name, I get it wrong sometimes, to come here and have the ability to run for office, to go out there and talk about the issues that I've faced, that's what makes this country wonderful. So what the gentleman was saying is the most unpatriotic, most un-American. It's not even about hate speech. It's un-American. Because people forget the countries they come here from, that you will disappear suddenly because you practice the wrong religion, because you spoke up. So, growing up, we knew who the LGBTQ members were in our schools. We knew they were. And when they came here, I was so proud to see them come out finally, have the freedom to come out. We knew who they were, even as children. And sometimes maybe it takes children to come and speak. As our son said during the whole demonstration, during the event that was happening recently, when there was a group of people shouting all this hatred against the LGBT community, our 11-year-old said, "Why are these people so angry?" I mean, it would sometimes take an 11-year-old to remind people that, you know what, after all, we're all human beings. Respect the person for who they are. Get to know them better. Anyways, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Weisberg.
Thank you. Let me find my notes.
And the note.
My notes. Ms. Denberg, thank you so much for the update on the peer-to-peer reading program. I'm so glad I actually got to see it in action. Was it last year? Every year feels like 20 years. So thank you. And Ms. Hellegaard, I am always excited to see you approach the dais when someone says something they ought not to say, because your response is always magical. So thank you. I don't know if you saw me, but as you approached, I was like, Ms. Solberg, thank you for the question. Something that Mr. Ferguson and I have been talking about is creating kind of a one sheet, because the governance shift is so big, it's so different. So I imagine you are not the only person who has these questions, and we're all figuring it out as well. So the idea is exciting, but needs to be sort of hammered out. And so I think a really good idea for us would be to create something that has answers to, I think the questions that you ask are kind of those big questions that everybody might have. So I appreciate you. You're always really good about being very clear about the information that you want. And so I think it's going to be very helpful for us in making sure we can disseminate those answers to tons of other people who want it as well. Or maybe like tens of other people.
And
I don't know that
translated.
tons of people want to know about our new governance structure.
They don't.
No. Ms.
Podcast
Y, I really enjoyed us getting a chance to sit down together. I also loved what you talked about at the beginning about this, and we talked about this a little bit, that, discipline doesn't work in a sort of silo, right? It's this the really important combination of restorative justice and discipline, but discipline that makes sense. And so, Mr. Sarn, I really appreciated I can't find my notes. There it is. I appreciated your passion. You obviously have so much experience in the district. One of the things that we've been talking about in reference to your idea about parent meetings is brainstorming like a couple of big sort of bucket issues that we can have parent meetings for throughout the year. So I don't think it would be a mandatory thing, but optional. So maybe one of the issues is, college affordability. Or one of the issues is how to talk to your students about mental health, or your kids about mental health. So trying to find ways to have more of a conversation between district staff and parents so that they can take those skills and use them with their kids. So I know it's not exactly what you suggested. Okay, cool. But it is something that we've been talking about. I know that there are meetings at the beginning of the year that everybody has, but I do want to push back a little bit. You said, so teachers can teach. Well, teachers don't just teach anymore. We are therapists, we are friends, we are sometimes people who provide food, and sometimes many other things. So the sort of statement to say like teachers can go teach, that's just not the way it is anymore. And you say you've talked to a lot of people, and I have to imagine that the sample set is actually Muir, which is great. Okay, but when you say things like kids who are struggling are a drain on our systems, that's deeply concerning to me. When kids are struggling, that's when they need a place like Burbank Unified the most. So I know it's really easy to say, oh, if they're creating problems, just bump them, especially if they're permitted. Well, the permitted children, for the most part, really want to be here. Their families really want to have them. So one of the conversations we've been having is how we can better communicate our discipline policies, our restorative justice policies, because they are in place. But if teachers aren't feeling that way, then we need to have a conversation to help communicate the systems we already have in place. But I do bristle a little bit, and I know it's not your intention. I know you're coming from an authentically genuine place of care for teachers and for students. I can see that. But I think if our goal is just sort of let's increase discipline, then what that's going to end up with is I think not the result that you would want or that any of us would want. So we have to continue to evolve as our students evolve. And I do think that, the combination of the work that we do, whether it's PBIS or restorative justice as our students get a little bit older, in combination with, we do have a progressive discipline policy that's in place. But when we sort of reduce it down to let's discipline our kids so that we can get back to the job of teaching, I think it sort of doesn't fully embrace where the world of education is right now and the type of approach we need to take with our students to authentically guide them through their years in the school district. Ms. Y, I did share the notes from our meeting, so I know Ms. Cuseo is going to follow up with you and hopefully provide you with all of the answers that you need. One of the things I'm most excited about, and this is in reference to Ms. Abasta bringing up a parcel tax, 64% of our community understood the importance of it. And I think people in Burbank are too smart to be tricked by scare tactics and misinformation. Most people in Burbank understand that the impact of a parcel tax is going to be something, but relatively minimal, and that the impact it's going to have on our schools and in turn our community is immeasurable. So I'm hopeful that community members are going to look to generating another parcel tax. And I, again, remain really confident that our community of smart, informed people is not going to allow smear tactics and misinformation to prevent them from supporting our schools, which in turn supports every part of Burbank, because we know Burbank is only successful when our schools are successful. To Mr. Arkelian is always too much of a coward to stay and hear our responses after he spews his bigotry in front of us for 5 minutes. What I always find weird about people like Mr. Arkelian is that they're the only people sexualizing gender identity. It's weird to me how hyper-focused on sexualizing being LGBTQ is, because no one's doing it except for Mr. Arkelian. No one's talking about sex. Talking about gender identity is a separate conversation, and I consistently only hear people sexualizing that when they're spewing hate. So I would encourage you to sit down and take a look at why you choose to sexualize who young children are, because that's disturbing. You said even if you don't believe it, you have to accept it. You said it about your own twisted beliefs. So how does that not apply to other people? You don't have to accept it. It's sad that you don't have to believe it, but you don't have to punish and diminish and demean people for who they are. So if you're so desperate to live in a country that's guided by Christian principles, and I don't just say this as a Jewish person, although that does send a shiver down my spine when I hear people talk about the importance of living in a Christian nation, because I know what that means for people like me. I know what the history of that has meant for the ancestors that I don't have anymore. But I wanted to suggest to you maybe Hungary. Because the president of Hungary, Viktor Orban, he's a big fan of a Christian nation. He jails and kills dissidents, members of the LGBTQ community, puts forward draconian laws that silence free speech and shut down colleges. Or you could go to the Hungary of America and move to Florida and have the same experience. But to echo what everybody else is saying, it is distinctly un-American. And I would argue what you're saying is also, and again, I fully embrace, I am not an expert in Christianity, but I was speaking to a pastor friend of mine, one of the previous times that you spoke, I'm speaking as if you had courage enough to hear our responses to you. And he said he wishes that people would stop using Jesus to perpetrate their personal bigotry and hatred. So that's a pastor. And again, I know you're not going to hear this because you don't have it within you to hear differing opinions. But I know that our students and our staff and our teachers are, and the people in this room are. And I know that none of us are comfortable sitting here, especially on a night where we're lifting up our LGBTQ community, as we should, and allow this kind of attention-seeking, bigoted nonsense to go unanswered. So, I know he'll be back. I know you'll be back. And you'll come up here and you'll smile and you'll spew your hate and then you'll leave. But what also is not going to change is that every single one of us up here is going to double down on our commitment to inclusion and celebration of every one of our students, whoever they are, however they show up. All you do is confirm for us that we're doing the right thing by our students. So come back. Come on back anytime you want. because it gives us an opportunity to let our students, our staff, and our faculty know that we will never stop fighting for you, celebrating you, lifting you up, flying that flag, which is going to be in front of every one of our schools. And every time I walk by, I'm going to smile because I know that it's going to make every student who walks in feel like, hey, this is a place where everybody belongs. So I look forward to the next time you come and give us the opportunity to reaffirm our commitment to every single member of our community, whoever they are.
Madam Vice President, that also includes students and former students.
Yes.
Thank you.
I forgot the words former students. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Weisberg. Thank you, colleagues. And thank you, members of the public, for your participation tonight. First to Mr. Sarna. First, I've received emails from your wife. I've received certainly emails from her colleagues as well, and received emails kind of district-wide generally about cleanliness, state of cleanliness in different moments. And I have expressed concern in the past. I still have concern. I do see systems moving that are addressing those, not instantly. I don't think can expect an instant kind of gratification environment. So, and I don't think you believe that either. Having said that, I am seeing systems move. I wish they could move faster, but I am seeing it. I have always valued your opinion as a member of this community. Disagree with approaches, characterizations. I remember watching as a student many of the students from the opportunity rooms guided from classroom to classroom, what that felt like, what it felt like watching them. The teacher in that room was magical and made lessons work and made learning and lessons connect for many of those student populations. But that's the magic of a teacher, not of the room. That's a magic of, frankly, maybe that teacher being able to connect in ways that others couldn't. And that, to me, is not about exclusion. That is about connection and developing more pathways for that. So that, I think it matters in big ways. I didn't know you played the role as chair of Vision Burbank or as a leader in Vision Burbank. Not necessarily a group that I have a lot of friends and people who I care very much about, and neighbors that I've known for years who are members and active members of Vision Burbank. Don't necessarily agree on a lot of politics, but I want to thank you for submitting maps during the redistricting process. I also want to thank you for sending emails and having members of your board here to comment. I think that that's important. And there was a time in Burbank where there were more active groups sending folks and engaging. And that helped in a lot of ways inform better policy, even when there wasn't 100% agreement. So I just appreciate your role in that, and it's good to see you. And I also was in Brad Frank's reading room, which was right next to your room. And, you know, everybody always looked like they were having a great time, and I always wondered what was going on there. So great job from back then. Ms. Waugh, I owe you a follow-up, but I have this. I'm glad that we have an official point of contact. Ms. Cuseo is phenomenal and a good person to connect with. Really, everybody in our district leadership team, I think, works tirelessly for kids, but you wanted a point of contact, you got one, and we will connect separately. I appreciate this. I will read this before we connect, so just, thank you for sharing. You know, I do want to acknowledge, this is a lot to disclose about a family member, about a loved one. So I am going to ask that, you know, we're making sure copies aren't left behind. You know, we're not those people, but when people choose to share as much as they do about their loved one, especially their kiddo, that means a lot. And I just thank you for that, and thank you for that level of trust. So I will follow up with you. Ms. Solberg, yes, all the questions, all the things. So we did discuss that many of the master plans were tied to funding requirements specifically. Great question as it related to the board policy on GATE. Yes, we got to answer a few things there. So all of those things can, I think we can close the loop on. I also want to say it's not the end of conversation. So I think that's where we can definitely sit down, connect, and discuss kind of the overall governance model, how it's shifted, and how conversations can continue and should continue, frankly, on core issue areas that the district has always been trying to address in different ways. But it is definitely a more policy centric model. It's a model that focuses on trying to build consensus through all the different constituency groups. So I'm looking forward to connecting with you on that, but also looking forward very much to drafting information sheets that will help kind of clarify any issues. We're also, and as I said earlier in the meeting, we're also transitioning into this point of, again, board members being a part of districts. So it really is this confluence of like shifting governance model to be, again, to ensure representation across the board, but also you now have, wait, Dr. Weisberg represents that part of town. What part of town do you represent? You know, I'm sorry, Ms. Solberg, I am no longer in your district. It was a pleasure to represent you for as long as I did. You know, and so that's going to take. Yes, I'm on this side of town now. I'm in District 1. So these are things that, but you're always my neighbor, you're always my friend, and we've always worked together on issues, and we're going to continue to. So we've got to get people used to, hey, who do I call? Who can I call to get some help and support, and who is directly accountable to me as an elected official? We work for all kids, but these maps have direct lines of responsibility that we need to educate people about. And that's important moving forward. So I look forward to kind of making sure that the information sheets we are getting out really answer and talk about both of those. And I want to bring them back because I know, like Ms. Tabbitt and others, and not in a critical way, we were very sensitive about the language we were using because we wanted to make sure that we were conveying the right messages to our families, that this is not a place where we're going to compete for, you know, but really a place where we're going to compete for all kids and innovate for all kids. So looking very much forward to that. To the DNA family, I love the surprise ambush of Diana Basta with positive love and affirmation. I have to tell you, when I did not have her as a teacher, I had her as a teacher kind of outside the classroom as a student board member. She kind of, it was kind of the, you're going to speak for okay, maybe we'll see, right? And over time, there was this, but I used to have her for legislative visits as an ASB rep. And in my freshman year, I was just like, okay, you have 5, and it was like, go. So I know the Hunger Games-like environment that you just had to like demonstrate. But through that was really powerful lessons, right? I also got to know the educator outside of school who struggled. Am I doing, really honestly struggled with, am I doing enough? Am I making connections in the right way that convey the right amount of yeah, my kid is struggling, but I think that's what's going to create growth in your life. And good God, I will say that is also one of the greatest gifts of being in this office, is to see educators spend hours after school struggling with if their work is really making connections in that way that will set up a kid for life to enjoy things at a better level. That is what I've been able to see with Ms. Abastas, certainly. But I've seen it with so many others in their own ways. So I love that happened. And I love that the acknowledgement of the struggle you at times have put, the rigor that you have put students through, has made growth happen. Mr. Schlossman, first of all, I love it because I will just say, for members of that is my dog. And for the first time, Winston has been hit in public comment and attacked in public comment. My little pug Winston, this is a checkers the dog moment. And they were assaulted today. No, I do have a dog. I love him to death. I have 15,000 kids. I love them equally as much as family. And again, I will never expect you to live my life. I will never expect you, because I don't. I have so much fun being a board member, okay? But it is such a great responsibility when you go to the grocery store and you're stopped by a parent, and that parent is about to download the worst possible thing that has ever happened to their child in their life. And there is no capacity for you as a human being on this earth to say, can you hold 5? I gotta go. You gotta be there, you gotta show up for people. You've gotta live a level of accessibility. And I don't expect you to know that because you've never earned that responsibility. I had to, and I did twice. And it has made my life better. Caring for kids I don't have has made my life better. It's given my life so much meaning. So, attack me for having a pug. Fine. When I'm going home and struggling, I'm struggling like Diana Basta is. Are we doing enough? Am I questioning that guy hard enough to get outcomes for our kids? That's what I struggle with. Don't mischaracterize me in that sense. I love this community enough to talk straight, to deliver straight talk. Straight talk from a gay school board member. Ironic. I'm going to tell you what it costs. I'm going to tell you, you elected me to be a part of a leadership team. And after 8 years, Lord knows you know me. But I have dreams. I care about these schools. I care about these kids. I live that life. And if I know that the pathway to better opportunities is going to cost something, I'm going to name a price. Because this community is capable of saying it's worth it or it's not. They put me in this chair as one of 5 to dream. And I have always, since I've been 11 years old, that's why I'm here, been a truth teller on that front. I'm not afraid to put it out there. I make people uncomfortable at times. I live with that. And I know things, for instance, about AA. Because being a gay man has taken me on the road to hell to many places. And you are not Mr. R. Kelly-ian tonight, but you have been Mr. R. Kelly-ian in other nights. And it's not that you have to have faith in God, it is that you have to have faith in a higher power. That power can be anything that you make it to be. I'm just saying, if you're going to get up here and minimize what people use to climb out of hell, to build healthier habits for their life, to establish value in themselves, then quote it right. You don't like it when people mischaracterize your struggles. Don't you dare go after that population. Because the gay community, I will tell you this, we are struggling. Don't you gyrate, do your thing. Well, now you're opening your mouth. I didn't ask you to speak. So, enough. Here we go. Again, the gay community has heard a lot from Mr. R. Kelly-ian. I have said, and I will say repeatedly, I'm a Christian. What I love about my faith is that it has this unapologetic commitment to loving people, right? It is the lesson rather consistently of go out of your way to love, to demonstrate commitment, to be in the grocery store and when a parent comes up to you, to give it all. But in my time in being gay and being connected to the community, I have been kicked out. I have had friends, lovers who struggled with drug addiction. All people seeking acceptance. All people seeking love from somebody in this community, somebody out in the world. And I've realized for so long that people focus way too much on the Mr. R. Kelly-ians of the world. What he said tonight, the worst of what he said tonight, doesn't match an ounce to what we say to ourselves. It doesn't. It just reminds us of what we think of ourselves, what society has taught us to think of ourselves, that we are freaks, that we are not worthy. takes a lot to go to AA. It takes a lot to say, I am worthy in a world that says, because you don't have kids, because you have a dog, that you are not worthy. This is your final warning. Thank you. Again, the fact that you have to interrupt shows how much I'm threatening you right now. So here's the reality. To all the members of the LGBT community, you will hear every word for the rest of your life. You will hear it. I hear it, and I'm sitting in this chair right now. Power doesn't shield you from it. And when I get emotional about this, it's because I know how many kids don't have the tools to manage this. They don't. The best thing my mom did was put me in therapy at a young age when we went through a divorce. It gave me the tools to process this. And you know what I did? At 11, I got involved and I worked to create the school-based counseling program that still serves kids today, 21 years later. So, when we decide we are worthy, it takes time. But when we do, gay people, people in the LGBTQIA community are capable of creating such beauty in this world, not just for their own lives and their own experiences, but for others as well. Tonight we celebrate, or we look to potentially celebrate, the life and legacy of Harvey Milk, another individual that Mr. Ira Kellyan attacked over a year ago. But again, look at how many times those who declare they are worthy of love, worthy of being heard, are attacked. It's threatening. Look at how the reaction happened tonight when I said no. I don't need to prove to you. I don't need to prove to anybody. I've proven it to myself. And if you're at home, if you identify as anything other than what, is prescribed by life, your journey is not about what these people say. God bless all of you. I love all of you. These are powerful allies. They'll reinforce you every day in the world, but it won't stop you in that hardest moment when you are alone. You got to decide you're worthy. The only reason why I'm here is because I did. You are absolutely worthy. So, I wish everybody a happy Pride Month. As you are on that journey, you will see a lot of bright colors, and yes, you will see rainbows and unicorns and all the things. Bright moments for when you can actually see them. So if you're not going to see Pride this year, if you're not going to experience Pride this year, that's okay. But try and get on that path to just tell yourself you're worthy. With that, we are worthy of moving on. And if any kid ever wants to talk, I don't have all the tools. I will tell you that. And I am a big advocate about connecting people with services and help. But my email is steveferguson@burbankusd.org. I care about everybody making sure they get on the path to worthy, and I'm always here. So with that, I don't want to do that right now. Nope. With that, we will go to, we don't have, and then on the land acknowledgement, I'm going to say that, frankly, it was part of my board comment. So it's a part of my script. I included it as president of the board. So there you go. With that, Dr. Neiman, come on up. Appreciate you. Great. Great. Thank you.
Good evening, President Ferguson, board members, cabinet, staff, and community. We have third time's a charm. We're going to talk about staffing update just on a very small piece of the classified staff that has come up in conversation over the course of the year. So I wanted to share a little bit of an update. It's amended, and if you were to ask me to do this in 2 days, it would have to be amended again and then amended again because it is a very fluid process of changes. So it feels like all year long we're hiring custodians and we're hiring custodians and we're hiring custodians. What ends up happening a lot is we move custodians. And so a custodian might see a vacancy that they want to take at another school site. We fly the job, they take that job, and then we have to backfill their position. And so it's a domino effect that keeps this process open-ended for a very long time. We've hired 13 custodians this year, 5 lead custodians. We have 3 openings. They're all brand new to us. So you can see we interviewed a candidate. Is today the 18th? I don't even know the date. Yeah, today's the 18th. We interviewed candidates today. We had 2 new positions come to us on the 11th, so they're flying. It is a process. The vacancies that existed last board meeting are gone, and the vacancies that existed the board meeting before that are gone. We still have the same number of vacancies, right? Because it's a fluid movement all year long. We have worked to create and increase the salaries for our classified employees. So through negotiations, we not only gave an across-the-board raise, we also evaluated job families and took a look at our lowest paid job families in classified. We tried to bring them up to the average. And so that involved our custodial grounds, our instructional series, our food service series, food service, instructional, grounds, maintenance. So the custodians you see at the beginning of the year, their starting salary was $16.23. At the end of the year, it was $18.31. So when you hear people talk about, oh, they got a 12.5% raise or whatever, we're talking dollars, right? $2 an hour. We have hired 4 subs. They promoted to full-time custodians. We hired 2 additional subs that are actual subs. 2 are in process, and 3 have pending job offers that we have not heard back from. So when we send them the paperwork, we don't always get it back. They don't always come back to us.
How many vacancies then in the custodial sub pool?
So it's not a
just a-
vacancy thing. It's
right,
we
it's
hire
just
as
gonna-
many as
right.
we can. Yeah. Right. We've had in grounds questions about grounds as well. So we've filled 5 grounds positions this year. We have flown the position 14 times. It's actually now technically 15 times. This is the 15th time flying it. Because if you look at this report from last board meeting, we were interviewing candidate. No candidate was selected. We are posting the position again. Okay. So the same is true with the compensation for grounds. It was $18.32. With the raises, it's $20.66, just over $2, right? So when you talk about you gave huge raises, we gave $2. We get asked a lot about campus supervisors at the secondary level. We've hired 8 secondary campus supervisors. Some of those were additional support, so individuals on top of the regular staffing allotment that we currently have. We don't have any true vacancies right now in campus supervisors. The starting salary was increased, $16.23 to $17.42. One of the things that we have really tried to focus on is what we can do differently this year to address some of these critical areas and some of the obstacles that we were seeing along the way. And I'll tell you, our partners in CSEA have done a wonderful job working with us to be creative and to remove some of the barriers. So they joined us at a recruitment fair at Burbank Adult School. We held seminars at adult school in the morning and the evening where I went and spoke to specific classes. Mr. Nagara brought students in, and we did huge assemblies. We did create a grounds and operations course at the adult school. We had trouble filling the position with a teacher. We now have 2 individuals that want it. They have to apply for a credential and get some schooling, but I'm hoping to get that done. We are working with the union to develop an entry-level grounds position, so we have a draft job description for that, so that right now in grounds, it requires that they have some experience. They know how to operate some heavy machinery. They have some sort of landscaping experience. We're hoping to create a pathway into grounds so that we have a pool to pull from. We have temporary reduced requirements for some positions. So positions that typically are entry level that require a high school diploma or some sort of experience requirements. For example, our office managers had two 2 years of experience in the job description required in an office setting. The union and the district worked together. We reviewed it. We made it one. It opened up the candidate pool to allow for more candidates to apply. The high school diploma was also a really big deal. It allowed our custodial pool to increase, our grants pool to increase, and some of the others. For the instructional series, we did not remove that requirement. These individuals had to work with our students in a school setting, and so we wanted to make sure that there was a high school diploma there. We also used to require that employees bring to us foreign transcripts as part of the application, that they were already translated, so that we knew what studies they had accomplished. We now do it for them, so that there's no barrier there. They don't have to take on the cost, and they don't have to go through the time to do that. We use social media campaigns. We use local church bulletins. We used EdJoin and Indeed. What we have found with Indeed is that for our higher level positions, like in accounting, budget, tech, we tend to do okay on Indeed. For our positions like custodian, we get a ton of applicants and people don't show up. So they maybe have put in an application just across the board. They're not really interested in that specific position or in Burbank Unified. They maybe just have applied. We have scheduled entire days around Indeed applicants, and have had 0 candidates show up. That's not the case when it's one of the higher level specific positions, tech positions. The district, you'll see, will bring forward a contract to fund fingerprinting for all staff. So we'll save our employees about $75. This is, again, really huge for some of our entry-level classified positions where that $75 could be an obstacle.
So when that gets all squared away, how can we include that in whatever applications we're putting out so that people know?
Sure.
That would be great.
Again, other obstacles. So a lot of times what would happen is we would offer a position, the person would accept, and then when they'd have to go through a process to get either back screened or health screened or sometimes even drug screened. So we took a look at what positions really needed those types of screenings, and we eliminated the back screen and some of the health screening. This has sped up our process immensely because the places that we were sending our potential employees were backlogged, and we might only get 3 appointments a week. And so if somebody didn't show up, they were getting pushed back. Without that, and there's no legal requirement to do it, right? So without that in place, we're able to get our employees hired much, much faster. So that was a nice change for us. For individuals where we offer, let's say we have a custodial pool, we hire one individual, the individuals that aren't hired, we offer to put them in the sub pool, right? And so that's where, like my first slide where it talked about, we had candidates who were subs that then promoted to be custodians. They had applied to be custodians. They had originally applied, they agreed to be subs, then they promoted up to employees. So it is a forever process of turnover. It's a forever process of hiring in my office and trying to figure out, is there something we can do differently? Is there a way we can tweak this job? Is there a way we can screen differently? Is this requirement really necessary in this way? Because, these job descriptions were rewritten. And I would say that the hiring field has changed even in the few short years where these job descriptions have been completed. So that's it for now. I'll take any questions. I finally did it.
Questions? Right, left, right.
Did you have one?
Dr.
Hey, it's like my students.
Dr. Day.
This is probably an impossible question, so you're welcome.
Okay.
On average, what's the length of time between like interviewing and then having somebody actually start the job?
So it's really dependent on the position. We actually track every single position. So from paperwork arriving in our office, we track every single step of the process. I'll tell you, a lot of it is dependent on how quickly somebody brings back their paperwork. how quickly they go through DOJ. Every individual has to be fingerprinted.
Right.
Sometimes those fingerprints take quite a bit of time. If there's a hit on a state or federal level, that could extend it quite a bit. So it's really more important, I think, to look at the process between when the job flies and when the job gets offered.
Mhm.
And then there's this unknown piece of, it could take a lot of hunting down of an employee. Also with the vaccine mandate, that made us have a longer process because we had several applicants, especially for these positions, that went through an RA process, ultimately decided to accept jobs or not accept jobs, get a vaccine or not get a vaccine. So, yeah, that did not answer your question,
No,
but I can tell you that we do
it
track.
did-ish.
Yeah, we do track every position in the office from start to finish at every step.
Yeah.
So you could look at that.
I have another question that's related. And this is just because you talked about how the vaccine mandate slowed things down. Obviously, we don't have it right now, but we talked about as a board before we lifted it that if conditions change, that we would put it back into place. Could put it back into place. So I just wonder about like the efficacy or the possibility of including, and this is, I don't know. But like, is it possible to put somewhere on an application something that says like something that speaks to that? Not that like we have a mandate, but that if there is, circumstances A, B, C, or D, the board has the only reason I bring this up and very unintelligibly is because we would like to have people who apply who are going to be open to being vaccinated. And so I wonder if it helps sort of different, but in the same way that we've included our anti-racist policy in our hiring materials so that we can sort of indicate to people, hey, this is a priority for the district, and thus maybe you don't want to apply here if this statement is not to your liking. I wonder if there's something that could be included, and I really don't even know if legally we could do this, that alludes to the fact that a vaccine mandate could be put back into place if district or like health whatever indicates that it has to.
Also known as
exactly in those words.
Yeah, it's we're gonna do it.
Oh, watch out, we're gonna do it.
What is that? Yeah, is there a forewarning policy?
Like a thunder emoji.
I would recommend, because it's been very public on the actions we've taken on a policy, and you've been public, I would recommend not putting it on there so that you all. My caution is you all are going to have to eventually take a vote on putting that back on there. And so if we have it on there, I mean, we can check with the attorneys, but I think just putting that we may do it, that's kind of forcing the five of you, your vote already if we put something
Sure.
on there. That's my only caution.
Is it
but-
possible that it's something that's talked about in an interview? Someone's openness, or is that illegal because it's a medical thing?
Yeah, I would not bring it up in an interview. I don't mind running it by our attorney about language. I would tell you that even if there was something that was put back into place, it would trigger all brand new reasonable accommodation meetings.
I know it.
But it just means that the accommodations may be different than they were the first time around.
Right.
There might be different things that we would consider. And so putting
Yeah.
a blanket statement, I don't know, but I don't mind asking.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's just that idea of would it be possible to have fewer people who would require an accommodation? And people lie all the time on applications, right? Like, so putting in and having someone be like, cool, it doesn't mean they're actually okay with it.
Yeah.
It was just obviously not a particularly developed thought, but just something I wondered about in regards to trying to move the process faster,
Mm-hmm.
but in like a useful way.
Yeah. I would want to think through that one. For sure. Yeah.
Just you.
I thought you did. Thank you. I'm really glad you got to do this finally. And I just wanted to recognize I really love the solution of creating the grounds and operation course at the adult school. I think that's awesome. And as far as like the employment fair, I think it happened right before the high school open houses because we were talking to Mr. Maxwell and he was saying like, we interviewed so many potential janitors today and it was so great to actually
have people in person, so you knew they were going to show up, so you knew you could have that interview. So I just think that's really wonderful, and like if we can continue to think creatively along those lines and working with adult school, because I know, Dr. Hill, we came up with maybe it was instructional aides, trying to figure if that was something that we could do there, because that's another big vacancy that we've got, or special education aides as well. I just think that's a really great solution to some of our talent issues. So
Yeah, I would love to see
thank
a
you.
course for instructional aid,
Mhm.
especially in the special ed where there's
Mhm.
some sort of organized coursework around behavior.
Mhm.
I think that'd be phenomenal.
Yep.
We are doing things we haven't done in years. I'm running a virtual job fair next week. And my skills in creating a virtual booth are not so good. Not so good. But it is not something that districts have had to do. They weren't doing this 5 years ago. We kind of put job fairs by the wayside, and now where everyone's trying to be creative and come up with different things. So.
Along the lines of what you were talking about at the adult school, at Open House at Burroughs, we have the class that does woodworking, but he's talking about expansion and including some trade skills. So that's something to think about. Recruit right out of there, or have an option for the adult school classes for those kids, a prerequisite, maybe. Just something to think about as we go forward. His class seemed pretty exciting, and I think what we expect from maintenance is some basic skills that class could certainly teach that would get them the skills they needed to take on those jobs. So just one more thought added to the adult school.
And, thank you. I have a few questions. So first, as we kind of referenced, or kind of alluded to in the beginning, kind of just talking about your time here, I've always appreciated your out-of-the-box thinking, right? So like, and we had like a number of kind of back-to-back challenges that occurred about a year and change ago, and then kind of collided all together. Perfect storm in a lot of situations. In other situations, it just created these panic moments, right? Which just demonstrates how critical your role is, how critical your role of your office is in getting it right. Through the report, like I saw a lot of like things that just made sense, right? And things that, I have to say, even as a student board member, I used to hear how bad the HR department was, and how bad and how hard things were to move, and how long they took or mismanaged they were, right? You always kind of hear this kind of conjecture. In this role, it's really hard because you can't trust just the office gossip. You've got to actually see the systems. But when everything's failing because it's a pandemic, how do you discern what's failing, what's working, what's not? So what I am happy to see is things like, again, these kind of more administrative layers being removed. Before you leave, if you could build a list of any of those remaining administrative layers and what they look like, and Dr. Hill, I would ask that get transmitted to the board. Popular or not, I want to know, because I trust your professional judgment. There are times I've asked you, in your professional judgment, because I trust that, you serve kids well as a core mission. I also want to know, in your opinion, on whether it's now or then, you said you track, how many drop-offs we have. I'd like to know which positions we have the most drop-offs. You kind of alluded to it, but are there just overall categories? Is it all just related to compensation? Or is it some of it toxic work environment? How many people are leaving because they're just tired of the BS all day? There are a lot of work sites that I've heard, hey, I'm not happy here. It's really a gossipy culture. It's really, every major organization has those components in their organization. That's fine. How do we address that? I would like to kind of understand from your perspective, what are the biggest challenges for us over the next 10 years, in your opinion? Again, not here, not to put you on the spot, but really with more thought, I trust your opinion on that. And that's important to me. I'm glad to see we've got kind of, again, these partnerships with adult school. I worry at times that won't be enough. I worry it's too small of a population. That's why I love to see Ms. Cuseo and others partnering with more regional partners to draw audiences potentially there. To me, the idea of taking community college classes, bringing them onto the adult school campus in some way, if there's space and capacity to do so, to me that draws people there, all the things, right? And then we can, again, use these as further mechanisms moving forward. So I want to understand those things from your paradigm, if at all possible. Instructional aids scare me in terms of there have been moments where we have not served kids well because of the absence or high exchange rate of instructional aids. I know some of that's contract language, so don't want to get into scaring too many bargaining unit members there, but we got to take care of kids. And that, I mean, I think if I would like to know what was the worst situation where a kid was bumped, how many times with an instructional aid in the pandemic. We should be able to monitor that, right? The number of times a kid experienced a bump of an instructional aid. I would like to know the number of times that student experienced that. Because I think that even if that's twice, I think that would be important to know. So I'm giving more homework than,
Yeah,
you know.
it's okay. That one's actually more of a Ms. Cuseo homework assignment. We'll work in tandem, only because we in HR don't have a student assignment with a kid, with an employee.
Sure.
So
That makes
we'll
sense.
work together on that.
But it does in terms of recruitment, like, and having a pool.
Yeah.
So it is an ecosystem.
Yeah.
So those are, I think, kind of where I'm at. I am happy to hear that a lot of the areas that I was really concerned about have stabilized. It's also been a long time, and there's been time to address it. So I think another paradigm is just, again, in crisis, where are we going to go weak? You know, where are we going to kind of buckle first? I think, like, number one thing I worry about right now are rainstorms. Why? These roofs are old. And yeah, we've got to explore things like bond measures that will cost people $5,000 over the course of maybe 30 years. Because people get to make those decisions for themselves. But I worry about it. So you see the building every day. You know it creaks, like the floors. I'd like to know that from you, if you're willing to share it on the way up. So other than that, I would also like to get your feedback on why we don't have more diverse hiring. I do not see members of the Armenian community around in our employment ecosystem in the way I see them in our community. And maybe I'm not recognizing them for Armenian and they're not identifying as Armenian, but I just don't see that. And I see that in Glendale Unified. I see representation more within Pasadena. I don't know if it's our systems. I don't know if it's, I don't know. I just want to know, like, why is that hard for us? Our number of administrators who are members of the Armenian American community, that matters to me. And I would like to know if there are ways, again, just to ensure more representation across the board. So if you have strategies on that, that would be great. We can't, go out of our way to say, okay, we just want to put in, this classification or this person, but where can we recruit more, to kind of bring about that talent? And where aren't we doing now? And do we need resources to get to those pools? Because I think part of my journey to become worthy was talking to adults who looked like me and who experienced things like me. Mm-hmm. And I know how important that was for me, and I can't imagine how hard it is for a community that history has told is not worthy through genocide. And in so many other ways through immigrant experiences and beyond. So I feel responsible for that in a way. So any recommendations on that front? It is a niche community within the state. However, it is the fourth largest population after African Americans in the county of Los Angeles. So it's not, a small population, and we are so blessed with that population in this community. So Anyway, so those are kind of my key, like, where are our weak points moving forward? What can we do with instructional aids? How, what does the worst case scenario look like for us? Because we just went through it. And I'm not sure we're any stronger to go through it again, except for kind of these administrative barriers removed, like potential. And again, I don't want it to get spun any other way of like we removed drug tests, so we're being most companies have removed drug testing because people figure out a way, no matter what, get around it. So that's the reality. So, I want to thank you for being innovative in a time that was really hard. But what do we have to look out for for the next 10 years? What does that special ed impact really look like? Where can we focus to be more diverse, or focus our recruitment efforts to be more diverse? And if there are situations where work environment is contributing to departures, how best do you feel we can address that, especially toxic gossip? Dr. Agakanya.
So I think, when it comes to hiring members of a certain community, based on our needs too, let's be realistic. I mean, you look at certain schools, like tonight we're talking about Muir. I mean, Miller, what is it, 84% now Armenian American, give or take? And that's not even putting the category of identifying, because not all surnames in the Armenian community end up with that. But I think the point I'm trying to make is that based on my experience, if you don't feel welcomed at a workplace, when you don't feel appreciated in a sense of not really helping you to develop, to make it to the next level, where you're just there to kind of come in, translate when you're needed, but then you don't create the opportunities to move up. Knowing what the value of that person speaking a second or third language is, I think that is something that we need to really start talking. Because I'll be honest with you, I'm tired of hearing some members of community coming quietly work our district telling me, well, I've been here for this many years and kind of I do this, but I'm not appreciated in a sense of I have not been developed to the next level. And I'm not buying this excuse of there are not enough qualified teachers in certain languages. We can't find them, And I think that's something that we need to start talking about more seriously. How do we make not only these jobs attractive in a sense of creating an environment that really helps these individuals move up, right? Move up and really become part of the district. Yes, there are certain individuals who I've spoken to who are much more educated than I am, but the language barrier is an issue. But also we need to remember some of these individuals, it's difficult for them when it comes to the language barrier because they feel like that maybe they will be perceived as not being educated because they don't speak the language well. And that's a challenge that some people sometimes look at me going, yes, because I've been there. My own mother was a teacher, had language barrier issues, and she would not participate at certain activities because she felt like people might look down on her. As it's difficult being new to the country, learning. And I think we need to have a serious conversation about this. When we are talking to students, parents who really want their students to be here, but they're from other countries and have language barriers, how do we embrace the, a job market that really does talk about diversity, And I always tell people, as Thomas Friedman said, working in today's markets are like being in the Olympics, but you have to be good in everything because you're dealing with international markets. You're dealing with multi-languages. And we should embrace that. We should have those people, not only encouraging the students and faculty to get better, but also talking to our parents and students about the importance of speaking other languages, because you and I know that you go out there now, where 20 years ago they told you don't speak a second language, now it's an advantage. It's called living in global markets. And I think we need to talk more about that. I know we're not that. That's the only thing I hear about Burbank, that other districts, neighboring district, they do have more programs in different languages. And people...
You're talking about dual enrollment?
Yeah.
Got it.
And to me, I'll be honest with you, that's what I tell my students. That, summer, go to travel, go to another country and learn a different language, because that automatically brings your value up when it comes to the job market. Especially now that we're looking down maybe a possible recession. I don't know. But I think it's important for us to remember these individuals being quietly, and it's part of a culture that sometimes you're just polite about it, where you're not complaining. But I'm tired of hearing people saying, you know what, I'm doing more than my job requires, yet all I hear is that we embrace our different communities, yet they're not helping us to really grow in our own field. And I think that's something we need to look at, personal and job development in those areas. I think it will ultimately, I know for a fact it will benefit not only our district, but also our students. Thank you.
Colleagues, unless you have, when I work for tech, they are fantastic with employee benefits, resources, all the things. They focus on it heavily because they have a highly competitive recruitment environment. That's fundamentally the truth. And if you are not an engineer who they're actually trying to recruit, you just kind of benefit from it. Guilty. So one of the resources they had was ERGs, employee resource groups. Are you familiar with that? With those generally?
I mean, I lead one. I don't know if it's the same as what you're talking about.
Okay, so it's usually chosen characteristics that employees affiliate by. So it can be LGBT community, it could be Latinos, it could be whatever, but they are basically employee-sponsored organizations. There's certain thresholds to associate. Once they do, a certain amount of funding is allocated. There is kind of prescriptions around that funding and what can be done, but it's mostly, again, it's like, hey, here's $1,500 a year that can be allocated towards basically social situations and settings where folks can come together, build community, et cetera. So that's a model that I've experienced at two different tech companies that it's a relatively low point investment, but I'm kind of surprised that it doesn't take, it is low point in a budget of, 150 million plus. So it is an investment. And again, as Diana Baster used to say, it is a statement of your values, your budget, and I believe that if we can potentially look at models like that, or if other districts have explored that, again, trying to see if there's a threshold for that. For instance, for Pride Month, I am definitely looking to connect with Nicole Drebecki, our new incoming BTA president, to try and put together a Pride Month celebration for BUSD employees. Stay tuned, folks. I'm going to try and find, y'all can come. Doesn't mean you're part, but y'all can come. But again, why? Because it's hard to be an LGBT person in education at times, especially when you have to hear Mr. Arakelian at times. It just is. Or Mr. Schlossman when he goes off. So it just, he loves it. So if there's a model that you see out there in education that works, that's relatively affordable, or Dr. Hill, who is nodding in a few moments, thinks that something like that is feasible, I think it's an affordable way to build belonging. So, thank you.
I think it's a good idea.
Game on. Okay. We'll figure it out. Who wants to join a club? So, anyway, any other?
I just want to join a club.
Okay. And then last thing is also county payroll. So that's coming back. When are we talking about that?
Yeah.
We can just figure out which meeting to agendize it for.
Good.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Neiman's been doing work with the county and the team, and so we're looking at solutions so we can do it maybe within the next 30 days.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be good.
Okay. Appreciated. And if any other questions or follow-ups in the meantime, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next. Come on down. I see the card. Okay, great. Our next speaker, we're not even there. We are moving to item 11A, adoption of Resolution 31, proclaiming May 22nd, 2023 as Harvey Milk Day. This moment.
President Ferguson.
Dr. Weisberg.
I move that we adopt Resolution 31 proclaiming May 22nd, 2023 as Harvey Milk Day.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Weisberg, seconded by Ms. Tabbitt. To adopt Resolution 31, proclaiming May 22nd, 2023, Harvey Milk Day. Any discussion? Absolutely none. Look at that. With that, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? 5-0. Thank you. Dr. Weisberg.
Resolution 31 proclaiming May 22nd, 2023 Harvey Milk Day. Whereas today we honor the life and legacy of Harvey Milk, an openly gay politician in California and a leader of the American Civil Rights Movement, and whereas Time magazine included Harvey Milk on a list titled The 100 Most Important People of the 20th Century, and whereas Harvey Milk was not only an advocate for the LGBTQIA plus community, but for all minorities, he believed in safe, strong neighborhoods and supported public education, affordable childcare, and equal rights for all. And whereas Harvey Milk was elected to the position of city supervisor in San Francisco, where he held office for 1 year before his life was tragically cut short in 1978 by a political rival who opposed Milk's liberal views. And whereas Harvey Milk's contributions to the cause of equality for all people has been recognized in a number of ways, including the issuance of a stamp with his picture on it, the posthumous awarding of the Medal of Freedom, and whereas Harvey Milk's work continues today through the work of the Milk Foundation, founded by his nephew Stuart Milk in honor of his uncle. Whereas we honor Harvey Milk today, let us remember his words, "Hope will never be silent." Members of the LGBTQIA plus community in the United States and around the world still face discrimination and violence rooted in the same hatred that Milk died fighting. They deserve hope, and they cannot abide our silence. Now, therefore, it is proclaimed by the Burbank Unified School Board of Education, on behalf of the citizens of the city of Burbank, California, that we proclaim May 22nd, 2023 as Harvey Milk Day.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And if you are a California kid growing up in Burbank Unified, it is a 6-hour drive to go up to Castro Camera, where his camera shop was. There's a plaque on the ground. When I was 18 years old, I actually met up with a friend of mine, and we decided to do a 7-hour road trip. And we actually met Stuart Milk there, Harvey's nephew, coming out. The Human Rights Campaign now has a bookshop there with a free lending library for resources for kids who are looking for that and who are looking for help. So when I was a young person, I found inspiration, quite literally, on the front steps of Harvey's home. His camera shop on top was his home. You can actually see the window where he used to look out, and where he founded the Merchant Association, which would allow him to partner with local organizations and run for county supervisor. So really powerful history in San Francisco, a lot of different ways to connect with that history. We joked that we just drove to get Starbucks. It just took us a long time. So with that, it's a quick drive, but meaningful history. And if you don't have the words to say what you're experiencing in that moment, sometimes it just gives you a little something to stand in somebody else's shoes who did have language at one time. So worked for me. We will go to the next item, resolution 32.
Do you want to do?
Yes, if I can just find my dang agenda. It's all over the place tonight. Thank you. I'll move resolution 32, proclaiming in the name of people's education, like Mr. R. Kellyan, proclaiming June 2023 as Burbank Unified School District's lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, intersex, and asexual LGBTQIA plus Pride Month.
Second.
Moved by myself, seconded by Dr. Weisberg. Any discussion on this? I want to thank Dr. Paramo, who worked on this. There was an amendment, so I want to be clear about this, right? So the LGBTQIA plus community, this is a community that is constantly defining its experience, defining itself, and defining its experience. That's how I can best describe it. And as we continue to kind of listen to people's experiences, as we continue to kind of understand how they experience it, people describe their experiences differently, and they choose different communities to belong to build that understanding of themselves. And we will always work as a school district, and I know this moving forward, to try and facilitate that space for people to get to know themselves. So there was originally language that identified this resolution and included the language LGBTQIA2S. That is a term used in other portions of the world We're not saying it's wrong, but what we want to do is to use terminology that can most universally apply, and again, not dissuade, not judge, but instead really just say, we are trying to use the most inclusive language possible when using a resolution like this. So sometimes it falls to people who identify as LGBTQIA folks to make these calls and to try and discern what's right. Not always easy to make calls, so I certainly weighed in on this moment, but to those who've had to weigh in on this, these are hard things, but we want to be as inclusive as possible. So I want to be transparent and accountable to my own community on that front. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Great. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Whereas the Burbank Unified School District models, advocates, actively supports, and promotes the inclusive and respectful treatment of all students, staff, family members, and community members. You saw that from every member of the board tonight. Whereas the district believes all students should be able to attend school in a safe and inclusive environment free from discrimination. And whereas the district is firmly committed to providing a safe, nurturing, and tolerant environment in all of our schools. And whereas the district is firmly committed to school safety for all students and staff and family members, including the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, intersect, and asexual community, or those who may be perceived as such. Whereas the district believes that sexual orientation and gender expression, bias, bullying are among the most common forms of harassment in schools, and the lack of awareness and understanding of these issues have contributed to a higher rate of isolation, depression, and suicidal ideation or attempts. Whereas the significantly higher rates of school dropout, academic failure, and school disengagement among LGBTQIA+ youth across the country are attributed to peer harassment and bullying. And whereas children who do not conform to gender stereotypes are more likely to be targets of harassment and bullying. Whereas all district schools must strive to ensure Burbank schools are consistently safe and affirming spaces for all students, staff, and their families. And whereas pursuant to Education Code Section 200, it is the policy of California to afford all persons in public school, regardless of their disability, gender, gender identity, gender expression, nationality, race or ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, or any other protected characteristic, equal rights and opportunities in education in the educational institutions of this great state of California. Whereas pursuant to the Education Code Section 201, all of California public schools have an affirmative obligation to combat racism, sexism, and other forms of bias, and a responsibility to provide equal educational opportunity. And whereas pursuant to Education Code Section 51933, the California Healthy Youth Act, and Board Policy 6142.1, all California's public schools must provide comprehensive sexual health education to encourage the development of healthy attitudes, of adolescent growth and development, body image, gender, sexual orientation, and relationships, and ensure that sexual health education does not promote outdated gender norms. Whereas the Student Success and Opportunity Act of 2013 strengthened protections for transgender students and affirmed that all students should be recognized and participate in the activities by their gender identity. And whereas the district endorses training for educators and other school-related professionals to support all students dealing with the issues of sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression. And whereas the district recognizes LGBTQIA+ as a protected group and addresses discrimination based upon sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression. And whereas the district recognizes that education regarding LGBTQIA+ issues increases understanding and cultivates acceptance and respect for the LGBTQIA+ students. And whereas the month of June provides an opportunity to celebrate and value the identities and contributions of the LGBTQIA+ community, and whereas the knowledge of the LGBTQIA+ community history for all students enables the LGBTQIA+ community, students, families, and educators to be supported by the district community to uphold affirmative lives with dignity and respect. Whereas, love this part, By recognizing Pride Month, the district demonstrates supportive policies, practices, curriculum that honor and respect the LGBTQIA+ students, staff, and their families. Now, therefore, be it resolved unanimously that the Burbank Unified School District Board of Education hereby designates June 2023 as Pride Month and directs the superintendent and all district staff to support policies, practices, and curricula that respect the LGBTQIA+ students and their families throughout the school year, and that the district will also fly pride flags at each site for the month of June. Yeehaw! It is a very cool feeling to see pride flags, and that was a partnership 3 years ago. And the superintendent made that possible. So, allies do big moments too. Representation matters, but partnerships do too, and allies do. So I recognize an ally when I see one in that moment more than ever. And so I want to just honor that because that was a really powerful statement that then the city, we were the splash, they were the ripple. Make no mistake about it. And then they lit up City Hall. Checkmate, I got it. Okay, fine. So that was Nick Schultz and Constantine Anthony who led a lot of that charge. This is a community that really has struggled with LGBTQIA rights. At times, it was hard to run. Ms. Tabbitt and I think, spent a lot of time healing for, frankly, wounds that we didn't even cause one another because of how ugly sometimes those fights got in 2013. Again, she wasn't stirring up a lot of it, some of it, but there were very real other issues that were just these sidecar passengers in these moments. Why? It takes, when you correct a community that went through redlining, there's other things at play. So I know our friendship has corrected a lot of those courses, and even when we've struggled, we've still corrected a lot of courses. But Dr. Hill and that partnership 3 years ago, I think, still speaks volumes to kids when they are deciding whether or not they're going to show up to school for the first day. With that, we will go to the other stuff. I have a script here, so it's a little bit longer. Thank you. Okay, great. 11C, high school science textbook. It just says high school science textbook.
Mr. President.
There you go. Dr. Arcania.
I move the Board of Education adopt the McGraw-Hill California-inspired biology, California-inspired chemistry, California-inspired physics, inspired earth science, not to exceed $971,646.62 as presented.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Arcania and seconded by Ms. Tabbitt. And third, to keep the AC on full. It's like, I see Dr. Hillen like he's shivering at times, and I feel terrible for him.
Yeah, it's not hitting you
and
in the
Dr.
middle.
Neiman,
It's cold
too.
over
I
there.
know. Just like,
It's
I-
that position.
It's that
'cause
position.
Right
It is-
here,
It's so hot
I
up
ca- I
here,
can't
but it
feel
is
my
like
legs.
20
Okay.
degrees cooler
I
down
have
there.
I
cold air
just-
blowing on me, and I love it. Over there,
Okay, so people at home, if I blind with the ball, like I am boiling. So just thank you. With that, we're going to burn and freeze in the process of adopting. You know what that means. We just need to
It's
get home.
an old
Let's go. So on item 11C, not to cut anybody off, if you have
No.
comments, great. We'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor of adopting the high school science textbook from the Lottery Textbook Fund, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries 5-0. No, there's not a magic lottery fund that can solve all problems. I also will say it's a very limited fund. It gets replenished in very limited ways. So just for all those people who are still perpetuating that, there is money that comes in. There is, but it's not ongoing funding, and it's not funding we can rely on for positions and things like that that are critical to our problems right now. Item 11D, high school health textbook, again, out of the Lottery Textbook Fund.
Mr. President,
Dr. Arcania.
I move that the Board of Education adopt the McGraw-Hill Glencoe Health textbook not to exceed $211,703.21 as presented.
Second.
Moved by the doctors, moved by Dr. A, seconded by Dr. W, to adopt the high school health textbook. Questions, feedback on this? No major flags or questions, didn't see.
I did have a quick question. If we wanted to preview, I know that you sent out the email that tells families that they can preview the textbooks. Is that the same way that we would be able to preview them, or is there a way for us to take a look at them like at the district office?
Definitely at the district office. I can also send you a copy. And lots of families have come to see.
That was my second question. That's very cool.
Very much so. It was a lot of traffic in the front of the
That's
district
great.
office, people checking it out.
Thank you.
So if we know that we're seeing other school districts really struggle, right? We don't want to become a struggle bus. But clearly it's a point of interest, right? And if people are stopping by the district office, follow me on this logic, right? They have the time and the resources to stop by the district office. So is there a way we could make it more universally available if it's clear that there's going to be more interest in it?
So we asked the publisher if we can get an electronic copy so that I could send it out, and they would not give me that access.
Could we ever do that as a condition of buying?
You know, I've to be honest, I've gotten a lot better at negotiating these books with some help from Dr. Hill. So that's something I can definitely do next time.
Okay. If we could specifically relate to these, especially these more socially sensitive areas.
Sure.
Yeah, if that could be a component of our negotiations moving forward, I think that's important.
Excellent. Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions on this?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that's an option. Also, doing it at the high schools themselves or at the middle schools for incoming parents might be another way to get access for folks if
For
they
sure.
won't do electronic versions.
Okay, that's not a problem. I can do that for sure.
Yeah, that's
Awesome.
great.
It's just an idea.
How is it advertised to parents?
The USD e-news.
And the subject?
And the emails that they self-identify with, it goes out to those.
Fabulous.
And,
Yeah.
and the kids also have their email addresses, so it'll go out to them as well.
They're like, we want this.
Sorry. So it goes out through e-news and it goes out through Blackboard, and it's based on the emails that families submit to us on Aries.
Okay, excellent. Very helpful. Good suggestion, Ms. Ponser-Kampgar. I think that's just makes sense. Great. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. On to item 11E, the acceptance of gifts. Ms. Tabbitt,
President Ferguson,
most days.
in light of our economy in this wonderful California landscape, the donations that we receive from so many generous, wonderful people need to be accepted with appreciation and gratitude for the things it brings our students. I really changed that one up, didn't I?
that one went long, yeah.
I can
Dies
go-
for
I
lack
can
of a
keep
second.
going.
Second.
Second. Sorry.
Moved by Ms. Tabbitt. Ceremoniously do it. Seconded by Dr. Weisberg. Any other and now staff is freezing. These are dark times.
I get it
Okay.
now that I'm here.
Any further discussion on the gift report? There was a comment about gifts earlier that we'll follow up later. Yeah. Any other questions on this? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0. Yes, in light of our economic situation, and also just because people are incredible and they want to invest in our schools because our schools are more than worthy of being invested in, we want to convey our thanks and appreciation to the following for their donations, big and small, to the district. First, to the University of Michigan, which has donated $2,000 to be used for materials and supplies at Burbank High School. To John Burroughs IMA Booster Club, who has donated $3,200 to be used for the JBHS IMA bus transportation at John Burroughs High School. To the John Burroughs IMA Booster Club, who has donated to the district $2,500 to be used for JBHS IMA coaches at John Burroughs High School. To the Burbank Arts for All, to Burbank Arts for All. It's probably the Burbank Arts and Education Foundation just, we should probably amend that so the letter doesn't go out and say Arts for All, the old foundation, unless it's old foundation. Anyway, sorry, overthought that. Who's donated $2,500 to be used for the culinary lab refresh at John Burroughs High School, which Ms. Macias talked about earlier. To the Burbank Arts and Education Foundation, who wishes to donate to the district $1,000 to be used to purchase TK materials and supplies at Emerson Elementary School. To the Arts and Education Foundation, which has donated $400 to be used to purchase a math department library at Luther Burbank Middle School. To the Burbank Arts and Education Foundation, who has donated $3,300 to be used to purchase a replacement audio system in the auditorium at Luther Burbank Middle School. To the Burbank Arts and Education Foundation, who wishes to donate to the district $3,000 to be used to purchase for the purchase of benches for the Luther Garden project at Luther Burbank Middle School. May the odds be ever in your favor. To the Disney PTA, which has donated $227.24 to be used to purchase school supplies at Walt Disney Elementary School. To the McKinley family, to McKinley Families, who wishes to donate $10,260 to be used at Outdoor Science School at William McKinley Elementary. To the John Muir ASB, who wishes to donate to the district $500 to be used for the John Muir Service Day at John Muir Middle School. To Story City Church, who wishes to donate $500 to be used at John Muir Service Day at John Muir Middle School. Station Film Inc., who wishes to donate $2,700 to be used to purchase materials and supplies at John Muir Middle School. To Smuggle Inc., who wishes to donate $2,500 to be used to purchase materials and supplies at John Muir Middle School. Curious. And Burbank Arts and Education Foundation, who's donated $4,200 to be used for Read Across America supplies at Stevenson Elementary. And to the Burbank Arts and Education Foundation, who wishes to donate to the district $225 to be used for Making Math Fun supplies at Bret Hart Elementary School. You know, you always see them here. They have their big fancy check. You never know if that cashes. It cashed. So that's what happened here. Schools won. Kids had a good time. Sounds like outdoor science school. Sounds like science. Sounds like a lot of different, a sound system back at Luther. So all good things, big and small. It takes a lot to run this district. It takes a lot of money and it takes a lot of investment. Again, thank you. And thank you to our foundation partners. With that, we will go to the consent calendar, right? Can I get a motion?
Indeed.
Please. I beg of you.
Hold on.
Items 12A
Yes,
through...
President Ferguson,
There you
I
go.
move that we approve consent agenda items 12A through
S.
12,
S.
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 Okay.
As presented.
Moved by Dr. Weisberg, seconded by Dr. Agakanian to move the consent calendar. Any discussion on this? Any items wish to be pulled? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries 5-0. With that concludes our meeting, except for our last period of public comment. Mr. Schlossman, feel free to come on down. The price is right. We will continue to accept cards, but it's an empty chamber. So I will likely conclude it after you.
I didn't attack your dog. Here's my dog, Mr. Ferguson, right there.
Aw, they should play date.
Or your cat. I'm trying to draw a contrast that people are fucking suffering, and they can't afford another bond and another tax. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Members of the public have broad constitutional rights to comment on any subject relating to the business of government, of a government body. That's straight out of here. Don't equate me with that jackass who was talking those hateful words. And he left the room, and you're looking at me, connecting me with that stuff. And I didn't say a word about it. And you expect me to sit there and take it? No, I'm not going to. Anytime you attack me unjustly, I'm going to say something about it. I believe the solution to hate speech is not a broad, you shouldn't do it. It's education. And if I see that man, he wanted to shake my hand, I wouldn't shake his hand. I don't know if you saw that. If I saw him out in the hallway, I would ask him, why do you feel that way? And I would talk with him and give him another way to look at things. And that's what we should be doing with our students and their parents. The idea of the 5 of you attacking somebody who has a different opinion doesn't sit well with me. That's what you did to me when I said something you didn't like. You take turns. Let me tell you something, and I didn't come up with these words, but I believe them. I agree with what the superintendent said, but hate is like acid. It not only hurts what you pour it on, but it hurts the vessel in which it's contained. I feel sorry for that guy, but he's doing us all a favor by showing us how he thinks. Mr. Agakani, and when those people were yelling at the street that you've referenced, that there was some event and they were yelling hate things, did you walk over there and say, why do you feel this way? These people are just living. This is America. We all have a right to pursue happiness. That's what I would have done. And another thing, I am not scared of you or intimidated by you or any of those things that you said. I like you, if you can believe that. I'm with you. But I have an opinion. And our worlds are a little bit different. That's right. That's all it is. I respect you, and even you with your smug face. I sent you an email, and I told you that, to which you didn't even respond. So you all have a good evening. Drive safe.
Thank you. Staff responses?
No response.
You? Anybody? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Schlossman, for your comments. The way you say things at times, again, are going to cross those lines. That's where we're going to disagree. I'm going to take you to the mat in those moments, and you take me to the mat in those moments too. I hope, and I know this, we're both very interested in creating a good community. I believe that, and I hear that in your words a lot. What you said about Kenny Knoop today meant the world to a lot of people, including myself, to hear that from you. To hear the impact he had on your family and to hear that in a positive, like, you say a lot of positive things. I'm going to give you credit, and you do give credit in moments. But when you do a low blow or when you say things that come off as really ignorant, I will tell you it gets categorized with the worst of Mr. Arakelian at times. And you can say that that's unfair, but at the end of the day, I'm telling you, you're not receiving it in the same way I am. And I try and take a walk through your shoes. That's why, like, I went to your house and I sat down with you and we had that, right? I've demonstrated that commitment, and you know that. So I believe in that power, and I would do that again to seek understanding. So clearly I got to earn your support on a bond. Maybe that'll never happen. It's, but I'm happy to sit down and engage with you why I believe that that's the case. At least me personally. And if we go there one day, maybe. But that's why I'm always happy to meet you there. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you, Mr. Schlossman, for staying the entire night.